Like chili comes in large and small, both for the dining room, and the cups are to go. Always got to make sure that you stir it right before you put the chili in the bowl of cup. Use a figure 8 motion from the bottom to the top to really get it stirred up. For a small serving, get the 8-ounce ladle full to a half-inch from the top of the cup or bowl. For a large size half, fill the ladle again, fill through the line on the cup or bowl, and then chili can be served with cheese. Fill a third cup half full with the grated kind, sprinkle on the top, and then put the bowl in the middle of the tray every time. Now Frosty's come in 4 sizes, large, medium, and small, and then there's kids' meal. Lift the arm to fill the cup, the Frosty should be thick and creamy, so it'll really appeal. Add a half-inch from the top, let the draw arm drop. The remaining Frosty will fill the cup. If the orders to go, be sure to put a lid on and serve it with a smile. That's why I'm singing this song. Milk and cookies, if you please. Milk's in the reach and check the expiration date. Make sure it's fresh and serve it with a cup with the open side up. Now don't hesitate. Cookies should be whole, never broken or cracked. Put them on the tray, what a great snack. Chili, Frosty, milk, and cookies, simple as that. Go have yourself some fun, 'cause you got the knack. When you're talking chili, Frosty, milk, or cookies, there's some simple things that you've got to know. Like chili comes in large and small, both for the dining room, and the cups are to go. Always got to make sure that you stir it right before you put the chili in the bowl of cup. Use a figure 8 motion from the bottom to the top to really get it stirred up. For a small serving, get the 8-ounce ladle full to a half-inch from the top of the cup or bowl. For a large size half, fill the ladle again, fill through the line on the cup or bowl, and then chili can be served with cheese. Fill a third cup half full with the grated kind, sprinkle on the top, and then put the bowl in the middle of the tray every time. Now Frosty's come in 4 sizes, large, medium, and small, and then there's kids' meal. Lift the arm to fill the cup, the Frosty should be thick and creamy, so it'll really appeal. Add a half-inch from the top, let the draw arm drop. The remaining Frosty will fill the cup. If the orders to go, be sure to put a lid on and serve it with a smile. That's why I'm singing this song. Milk and cookies, if you please. Milk's in the reach and check the expiration date. Make sure it's fresh and serve it with a cup with the open side up. Now don't hesitate. Cookies should be whole, never broken or cracked. Put them on the tray, what a great snack. Chili, Frosty, milk, and cookies, simple as that. Go have yourself some fun, 'cause you got the knack. When you're talking chili, Frosty, milk, or cookies, there's some simple things that you've got to know. Like chili comes in large and small, both for the dining room, and the cups are to go. third cup half full with the greatest kind. Sprinkle on the top and then put the bowl in the middle of the tray every time. Now Frosty's coming 4 sizes, large, medium, and small, and then there's kids meal. Lift the arm to fill the cup. The Frosty should be thick and creamy, so it'll really appeal. Add a half inch from the top, let the draw arm drop. The remaining Frosty will fill the cup. If the orders to go, be sure to put a lid on and serve it with a smile. That's why I'm singing this song. Milk and cookies, if you please. Milk's in the reach and check the expiration date. Make sure it's fresh and serve it with a cup with the open side up. Now don't hesitate. Cookies should be whole, never broken or cracked. Put them on the tray, what a great snack. Chili, frosty, milk, and cookies, simple as that. Go have yourself some fun, cause you got the knack. When you're talking chili, frosty, milk, or cookies, there's some simple things that you've got to know. Like chili comes in large and small, both for the dining room, and the cups are to go. Always got to make sure that you stir it right before you put the chili in the bowl of cup. Use a figure 8 motion from the bottom to the top to really get it stirred up. For a small serving, get the 8-ounce ladle full to a half inch from the top of the cup or bowl. For a large size half, fill the ladle again, fill to the line on the cup or bowl.
Muted. There we go. Hi. Let's do that again. I am Frisco Pinball. Welcome to Tuesday Night Tributes. As you saw, I hope you're hungry for chili. And we have an awesome guest for you tonight. I'm really excited to ask him some questions. Let him go off the rails as much as he wants. But thank you so much for joining us, everybody. This is a special edition of Tuesday Night Tributes because tomorrow I am gone for the rest of the month like I was earlier. I'm just back home for a couple days, but I'm glad I was able to get this guest on and get this interview going because we have some cool things to check out. Let me move this over here. And I want to make sure that he is celebrated. So without further ado, let me introduce my guest in the bottom left. If you have not seen his work, you've probably, you know what? Let me rephrase that. You've probably seen his work, but didn't realize how much he actually does. So without further ado, we have iDigStuff. Welcome, my friend. How are you?
Hello. Thank you for having me, man.
No problem. So we were talking before the stream, you know, we've kind of got a shared bond, love of music and all that stuff. But I guess my first question is, what could people find of yours that they would know the most? I would have to say it would be Simpsons, but you
for sure.
Okay, Simpsons Pinball Party, you would say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was the project lead, but that was a 6-toe, VPW, Apophis, Ayaki, Tamate. Those guys really did a lot of the heavy lifting on that one. As you can tell when you look at it, how beautiful it is. Definitely wasn't me. But I'm good at rallying people.
You need to rally those angels.
I call it rallying. They probably call it annoying the shit out of, but whatever. Same difference. the bottom line is a great table got made. So for everybody to enjoy, that's really what it's all about. Those guys are just amazing, and they just churn and burn, man.
That is awesome to hear. So, again, he has worked on, iDigStuff has worked on a lot of stuff that you've probably seen, whether it's an alt sound package or a original table creation like Tiki Bob's. So, I guess one of my early questions always is with most people is how did you get involved in either pinball or virtual pinball? Did one come first, or did you do something at like most people, I guess, nowadays at the start of the pandemic we were all looking for something to do. So how did you get your start in this awesome hobby of ours?
I'm gonna put on my glasses so I can see. Pandemic, like most of us. I very little pinball history. I'm not tied to the whole history of it. I'm learning a lot, and I respect it and appreciate it and all that. But definitely was an accident. I, like a lot of guys, was doing a MAME thing, building that cabinet in the background. And when I was researching that, I stumbled across Terry's videos, like everybody does, with all the lights. And you're like, I want that. And so then, like most of my hobby, as soon as I saw it and was like, that's amazing, then it's like all wheels are off, and that's all I could focus on until I build it. So I built one, and then the rest is was just loving music and loving sound and being drawn to it and being like, hey, is there a way to start manipulating these to do different things? And kind of was really interested in learning that part of it. And I'm not a coder at all, so I kind of want to just represent the guys who got into it that aren't coders. Maybe they're not even graphic artists. I'm not a graphic artist. There's ways that it can be done, and the first early on tables were just sound mods, literally going in and replacing sounds, and it kind of grew from there. So
that's awesome, because I think that relates a lot to so many of us in the hobby. It can be, just getting it set up is such an arduous task. Pre-baller installer. It's because there's
pre-baller and stuff.
Yeah, because there's so many. Which
is amazing now that they even have that, and all the hard work that David did, and the guys, amazing.
Yeah, exactly. The software, like something like Ball Installer, was heaven sent, because before that, everyone was cobbling pieces together, making sure you had the right SAM build, pin MAME, DOF links, all that stuff. But now, luckily, it's a little more streamlined. Thank you again, Nailbuster. But I think when you say you were trying to represent or relate to the everyman, it just speaks so well, because there's so many out there of us. Like myself, I don't have a background in art. I have a somewhat background in music, but coding and all that is not part of my repertoire, as they would say. So it's really cool to see somebody succeed so well in this hobby with sort of a, I don't want to say shotgun approach, but sort of doing it all and getting their hands wet. So with the MAME project, were you looking to do one big actually MAME arcade, or were you looking to...
No, just basically I wanted a cab that would play all the arcade stuff.
Cool.
I wasn't necessarily looking to emulate Nintendo games and stuff like that. I wanted an stand-up arcade machine that played arcade games.
Nice.
And thanks to MAME, we're pretty straightforward to do that nowadays. Pinball, that's another story, but it's getting better and better. And again, going back like the everyman thing, it's really true. It's like, I'm not a carpenter. I'm not a graphics engineer. I'm just trying to tell you guys, you can do it, and if you want to get into stuff and modding and stuff like that, you can totally do it, and just start small, and go from there.
Do you have a favorite arcade game? Like, was there one you were looking to play? Like, for me, it's Mortal Kombat 2. I love that freaking series.
That's solid.
But how about you?
I'll tell you what, like, it was the games that when I grew up in a bowling alley, because my parents bowled a lot, and I got dragged there like 3 times a week, and I had $1 allowance, so I had to really get good,
stretch it
to make that $1 last the night. No, I was never good. I'm totally kidding. But Dragon Slayer was when I saw that, that blew my mind. The whole CD gaming and stuff like that. But I'm way late to the party, man. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't really get into any of this stuff until a few years ago, and kind of figured how you could do it at home. And then I just thought it was the coolest thing ever, and I just had to do it.
So what attracted you to virtual pinball? Like, what was the lure? Just the creativity of it,
a lot of it. And I'm a theme guy.
Okay.
Like a lot of guys, you hear them talk. We talk in the forums. Everybody talks and they share stuff, and like you hear guys like, "Oh man, it's like how the table plays." That's my physics, you know. And and I totally get that. But I probably played 2 real pinball tables in my life before I started virtual pinball. So I actually play more real pinball now than I ever did before I got into virtual pinball. So the whole argument is virtual pinball. Virtual pinball is a gateway to real pinball, and I think that's why the real pinball manufacturers let it happen, because they understand that. Every day you go on and you see friends and guys in the groups and stuff like, "Hey, I bought my first real pinball machine." You know? Hell of a lot cheaper to get into fake pinball, virtual pinball. First, and grow from there. You know.
It's crazy because it's one of those, you say that and I look at my collection now and I'm like, if it wasn't for virtual pinball, Stern would not have my money right now.
Yeah,
so.
You got 4 machines, I think.
Yeah, three physical and 1 virtual.
And another one?
But more coming. So are you? So I love that you said that. Now you're playing more physical pinball. Are you going out like to the local spots, or is it just if you catch it when you're on the road or something?
Yep, absolutely. Looking for spots. In the old days, it used to be when I was touring and stuff. Every city I would go record shopping. Now it's like, where's the pinball spot? And it got my wife into it too. She had never played, and she started playing on virtually. I fell in love with Creature from Black Lagoon immediately.
Great choice.
And that was her very first one she really got into. And now we'll both go. We have like a Korean barbecue place here that has a really, really awesome, very updated lineup all the time. The guy's really into it.
Ace Goji.
And then, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's an awesome spot. I like the owner. I talked to him a bit on some stuff before, so it's great that you named that place. I don't know him.
The spot is so neat.
Yeah, it's a wonderful lineup, and he always tries to get the latest stuff. And I heard, I'm not in California anymore, but I heard that they try to keep the pins well up to date and working. So
on it, and like you'll see stuff that's like it's not even out yet.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, like he had like Godzilla like the week before it came out.
That's amazing.
Like, I don't even know how he does it. Like, it's pretty nuts. And then I have a spot real close, the mall.
Laguna Hills Mall?
And a Lord of the Rings and a Munsters.
Nice. Is that Laguna Hills?
No, Burbank.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
I know in Orange County, they in one of those abandoned malls, they opened a pinball spot up there.
Oh, so. Cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you have a favorite when you go out to play? Is it Godzilla? That's one of my favorites now.
Yeah. That's a good. I played a lot of Simpsons lately because I was trying to get it down for the VPX build.
Nice.
I kind of really fell into that table and realized how hard it is in real life.
It's very. I mean, you guys did such
1 million modes.
You guys did such a good translation of it. I played it again last week at Attorney, and I just remember learning some of the rule sets because of the virtual version and in awe of how well it plays compared to the physical and virtual versions. And it's such a fun table, but there's so much to do. There's the super secret wizard mode and all that. So, man,
there's
you guys,
a lot.
Yeah, shout out to you guys on that one.
Yeah, and when I took it into VPW originally, I took it in there. They have a section called Light, which is, and this is a good lesson for everybody. If you're interested in like getting assistance and taking your project, I don't want to say to the next level because that is so cliche, but if you want to make your project a lot fucking better than you're gonna make it, take it into VPW because those guys are awesome. And I literally took it in there like, I like this title. the original was a solid table, especially for when it was created. It was very solid. And I was just going to update it with the latest technology, like a lot of guys are doing, like physics and sounds, right? Fleep and Fozzie. And once it got in there, I started seeing what the other guys were doing. I'm like, I'm going to put in inserts. Let's do the inserts. So, let's add the new lamp lighting code. And every step of the way, I would have to learn how to do that. But the beautiful thing is, when you're there, all you have to do is be like, I got stuck here. What do I do? and they're going to help you. You know what I mean? They're amazing like that. And then Six Toe and Ayaki and those guys came on board, and then the wheels were off. They were just kind of like, they're like, all right, move aside, young man. We're gonna you go over here. We're gonna make this a real project. So then I kind of focused on the alt sound at that point, and really went all in on that, and then snuck in some stuff like the beer can mod. I really wanted that. Snuck in the way that the bumpers light up, the jets on that one with the nuclear power plants. I saw a real one, and I saw how it was modded in real life, and I wanted to recreate that into the VPX version. Now VPW, as you know, they're very hardcore about it being like true to the original.
Yeah.
So luckily they didn't do a ton of research, and I don't think Six Toe realized the beer can mod until after it was out. So all good.
That's a good method of getting it in.
I got it in there, and it turned out being a really great project. And I'm super stoked about it.
I mean, you should
biggest project that I was involved in to date, thanks to those guys.
You should definitely be proud, all of you guys. It's such a faithful recreation. And with mods, it's kind of crazy because like I have like on my Avengers, I have a ton of aftermarket mods, but it's what makes it personal to me. So when virtual creators allow those options to have something animated, like on Indiana Jones, an animated airplane, or on Simpsons, just sort of things you can turn on and off. It's so cool. And the crazy thing I still to this day is the amount of hours that everybody spends for free almost. I mean, for basically for free.
For free, for nothing.
Yeah, for nothing. and it's crazy because then the feedback is so important to show you guys that, hey, look, we're enjoying this. Here's a thumbs up, all that stuff. But kudos again to all creators like yourself. I want to say it's a thankless job, but hopefully some people give you kudos, and I really am appreciative of all of it.
It's very thoughtful and it's very appreciated, and I know that's really all we have to work with is because it is free. Is that people enjoy it? That's why I say we. I don't really consider myself a creator on the level as the real creators, but I hope I can come across as like, hey, if that guy can do it, I can do it too. Because
I think that's an amazing attitude to have, and I think you're gonna come across when people watch this, whether it's live now or on a replay. They'll take that to heart, and I think that message needs to get out. So my next question to you is,
sure.
What was the first thing you worked on in virtual pinball land?
Well, I'm embarrassed to say because they're still on VP Universe, so you can go back and see the level of quality. The first ones I did was, and this is a great way to start. We're basic sound mods, and like Charlie's Angels. If you go on VP Universe, there's a Charlie's Angels. The remix is kind of the more updated version because I added a bunch of options in the script. Because like you said, it's awesome to be able to go to the top of the script and say, I want this to happen. Yeah. I want that turned off. You can fully customize it, which is great. But it was literally like EM tables because they're simple. The rules are easier to follow. There's no modes to deal with. It's literally like, okay, when it hits this drop target, instead of it like making, and I'm going to get killed for this, but like I said, I don't have a history in pinball. I came late. The bing, bong, bong, bong drives me fucking crazy. I hate it. I mean, I like it a little bit, but not a huge fan of like hours and hours of bells going off. So I was like, well, what if we kind of just modernize a little bit? And I know I'm going to get burned for this, but like we said, I don't come from the pinball history. I respect the pinball history. I'm learning a ton about it, but I'm not beholden
Yes.
to that in a way either. You know what I mean? Like I'm doing what I think is fun, and hopefully some other people think that that's fun too, and maybe a little bit different in some ways, and that's all I hope for. So it's literally just like, hey, instead of make a ding when that happens, make this sound, and that's as simple as it was. And I thought that was so cool and so fun that I could take that project and make it my own in that way. And I think that's the same thing that people that try to do it will find, and they'll get addicted to it. Because
Oh yeah, I think when you can personalize even the tiniest of sounds, if you're like, you know what, I don't like when this call out happens because it happens too much. Let's blank that or lower it or replace it with something that's more palatable to my ears. I think that's an amazing start.
Yeah.
So do you have a background in music?
That's a way to alt sounds, because that's the whole point.
Yes.
Of alt.
Yes. Do you have a background in music?
I do. I started on the recorder in 4th grade.
Yes.
I did though. The usual music in school, mostly. Marching band in high school, playing horn and stuff. And then when I got into college, I started touring with jazz bands, doing like the European kind of like jazz circuits and stuff like that, which was very cool because I was 17 and got to go to Amsterdam and Paris, and like my first overseas trip, which was super cool.
Dude,
and
that's
then
awesome.
when I got back, I said I wanted to do this for a living, and I got lucky, and a buddy of mine at the time, No Doubt, was a local band here, and a friend of a friend, he's the horn player for No Doubt, and they were going on tour with the Offspring, and they needed horn players. So my buddy, tenor sax player, and he asked me to play trombone, which is my primary instrument. Nothing cool like drums or guitar, just trombone. But it was a great experience because for some reason on that tour, the Americana tour, they wanted horn players because they did that Nana, why don't you get a job song. I don't know if anyone, but that was a hit for them. Yes. And it had horns on it, so they wanted to take the horns. So that was cool. We got to go to South America.
Self-Esteem. I think it's called Self-Esteem. Might be.
Yes. Yeah. And that was super fun. And then the touring as a musician, I realized I'm not going to be a professional trombone player.
Why not?
So, yeah. Well, probably because I didn't want to be. I went back to school and decided that I wanted to be a recording engineer, learn the other side of the desk, making the records rather than recording on them. And that was the best decision I ever made, because I got to go work at a studio in Hollywood, and I was there like when the last heyday of real studio recordings, like Chili Peppers, Audio Slave, Muse, on and on and on. Tom Petty, just got to see and work and get lunch for.
God, that sounds so. That sounds so idyllic, man. I'm so jealous. Oh my God.
And then I guess continuing, I was in that, and I got in the studios, and then I realized I didn't want to be in a studio for 16 hours a day with no windows. I like being outside. I still loved music, and I still loved the creative process. And I had a really cool boss who went to bat for me and was like, you're doing this. I like you. You're good at it, but I know this isn't for you. And he made a few phone calls. And I swear to God, dude, a week later, I was in Munich touring with Bruce Springsteen as his recording engineer. And I toured with him for 1.5 years all over the world, dude, because of that guy making that phone call for me. So I can't ever thank him enough for that. And then that led to some other really cool gigs. I got to record James Brown at the Apollo.
Whew.
I got to tour with Bon Jovi a little bit back in the day. Just a lot of really fun stuff. I don't know, I'm going off of my whole resume. I
feel like I need to grab all those stories for another stream, because holy shit, that's amazing. We were talking before. Yeah, we were talking before the stream about just stuff that we're into, and man, that is so cool. What a great. I feel like you have those experiences, and You can tell yourself, I don't really have any regrets. People always ask that because you've been able to see it. You personally might think of some things, but it's one of those things that's why, and it's not that's why. This hobby has so many different people from so many different walks of life. I think that's why it works, and why we're all able to hopefully come together and make some cool stuff and give people a release from the stress of the world, or just, something that reminds them of when they were playing pinball as a kid. Even if you weren't into pinball, the things that you're seeing now, and now that you're going to Ace Goji and getting to play, you're getting to see all the cool stuff. And now you said in the beginning, like, theme is a big thing for you, and some guys go on physics. That's kind of how I am with themes. For me, if I see a theme that I am in love with, like the Goonies, Venom, The Matrix, I'm immediately drawn. Like, that's what draws me, because it's a world that I've been able to escape to, and now it's in the form of a new form of entertainment that I love. So I'm glad
when you say a world, it makes me think of exactly how I view it. Is that when I look down in that, I call it in the table. You know what I mean? Like, when you're looking in the table, man, it's like, I want tables. I want to climb down in that and not like be in that world. You know what I mean? Like, for me, that's what it's all about. And I like themes because, again, you don't have the pinball background. I might like themes that are a little bit different. You know what I mean? I'm not a superhero guy. Like, I don't like superhero movies. I'm not a fan of any of that. I love like Tiki Bob's. I love tiki stuff. I love mid-century. I love classic Hollywood, black and white films. I love, like Bored. When I saw his stuff, I was just like, dude,
that's
I love
man.
what you're doing. That because of the beautiful EM stuff he does and the classic artwork and stuff. It's just amazing. And again, that kind of goes to, and that maybe we could talk. I don't know what you have queued up, but I'll just talk about the Led Zeppelin table project, because that was the one that really that was the first one where I went from like plugging in little sounds on like Charlie's Angels to trying to do a real project. That was the first real project for sure. And I consider myself more of a producer on that one, because I was on Pinside, I think, and that table was a real life what do you call them, like a homebrew. The guy took a real life I can't even remember the name of it. What was it based on? Freedom EM.
Gotcha.
And he turned it into that table. When I saw it on Pinside, I was like, I would love to make that virtually. And this is, I don't know how to do that, but I wanted it at the time, right?
Yeah.
So I reached out to the guy who made the homebrew on Pinside, and I just emailed him and I say, hey, I saw this. This is what virtual pinball is, because he didn't even know what it was. That's where we're starting from.
Yep.
And I sent him some examples, and he was like, awesome. Like you want to take my creation and turn it into a digital version that everyone can play? Yes. So he was and that made it cool. And so from him, he had hired an artist to do all the original artwork. He gave me his information, so I reached out to him. I was able to get all the original art. He sent me the PNGs, the original everything, which was awesome. So now we've got permission, we've got the original artwork. Then what's next on the list? And this is probably a good, if you're wanting to do this is probably a good chain of events.
Yeah.
Then it was reach out to Loser Man, Rip.
Yep.
Loser Man.
R.I.P. Loser Man. Jeffrey.
Yeah, man, the legend.
Yes.
And asked him if I could mod his EM table, Freedom, which is the exact one that the real one was based on. And he said, yeah. But the glue and what really tied the room together was Apophis. I don't remember how we first met. I guess most people probably know who he is by now if you're playing anything.
Yeah, right.
But I met him through Discord on that project, and at that time, that was before he was part of VPW. Before VPW was just starting, I think. And he just did everything I didn't know how to do. Like, I'd be like, I want to do this, but I don't know how. And he'd be like, you know, and I can't thank him enough, because since then, every single project I've worked on since then, he's been my right-hand guy to help me. And I attribute all of my projects or ideas coming to fruition to him. So big thank you to him. And that's part of, as we get older and as our real life happens, you know, most people, I know for me, like, you keep less and less in touch with maybe some friends you had when you're younger, and your life changes, you get married, you move on. This is such just an awesome way to meet new people, because when you get to be an old fart like yourself, that's difficult, and you know what I mean. So through hobbies,
it's tough.
It's a great way to find common interest and to meet cool people and to chat and share ideas, and that's really why we're all here. So.
Exactly. I think you said it best right there. It's such a cool way to connect with people you might not have met before. And when you have this shared interest and a shared passion, it's just going to come through. And what's great is if they're local, then, you know, maybe you meet up and share beer over, hey, remember when we did this? And if not, if it doesn't come off too creepy, you're like, yeah, let's do it.
It worked out that he's 45 minutes from me. So he is the only person I've hung with in real life from from all this. But yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah, I have locally I have Daz, and he's a really good guy, the owner of VPU. So it's really cool. So you know what, that's
Daz for all your hard work, sir.
Exactly. Keep giving us a place after V Pinball went down to kind of throw all of this. It was very much needed. So I do have Led Zeppelin queued up. Do you want to go ahead and start with that one? We can talk about it.
That'd be great. I mean, do you have the pup version or the EM version?
I believe I have the pup version.
Awesome.
We'll load it up. If not, we can always call an audible and go from there. So I'm going to say, we're going to say goodbye to iDigStuff right now, because as you know, with OBS, we can't have two things running at once. So I'm going to go ahead and turn off his video. There we go. And as you can see in the bottom left, there is a command, !iDigStuff. If you enter that in, you'll be linked to his VPU page, where you can find all of his alt sounds, tables, other creations. And so what we'll do is we'll load up. Let me do this, and hold on. Let me make sure exclusive full screen mode is ready. Okay, good to go. So let's load this up, and then I will do a double check on the audio, so it's not too loud, not too quiet. And let's see. There we go. And let me hold on. Where's my mouse? Where did the mouse go? Okay. Well, you don't need the backlash. Oh, it's frozen, that's why. Hold on 1 second. Okay, hold on 1 sec. Let me throw this on the playfield so that way it doesn't get covered up. Are you still there? Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, perfect. Let me go through here. All right, if you're watching, does this look good? Is this the one we're talking about?
It is.
Okay, hold on 1 second. Loud for me.
When happy years turned away.
Give me a sec. Okay. So it
But
should
now's
be
the
coming in
time to look and look again.
lower over the
at what
stream
you
and
see.
lower over there. So let's
Is
go ahead.
that the way it ought
And so if you want to tell us
stay?
about creating this, just please go ahead and the history and go from there.
It started off as the EM.
Hold on 1 second. 1 second. Sorry.
Sweet baby now. Mama said that's the way it ought to stay.
Okay, go ahead.
Oh no.
Test. Are you there?
Oh no.
Yeah. Can you hear me? I'm watching the.
Oh.
There we go. Now I can hear you.
Okay. Are we live? The pup pack really took this to the next level.
One second. I am so sorry. I think with the pup pack, it's it's hard to hear him. Can you go give me a test on your audio again? It was a little
Can
low.
you hear me? Talking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Hold on. Oh man, what just happened?
I can talk after if you just want to play it for a minute.
Okay, I'll play for a minute and then we'll talk after. For some
Yeah,
reason,
worries.
your audio mic just went lower.
Oh, weird.
But that's okay. Let's. I'll play a little bit and then I'll come out and we'll talk. That's a good idea.
Okay.
All right, folks. So we're gonna try this out. iDigStuff can hear me. We're gonna play a little Led Zeppelin and then we'll get a history of it from iDigStuff. But this has a pup pack. It's an original homebrew that I believe like you heard before, he got original artwork, assets, and it's one of the ones you can kind of customize the the pup pack to your liking. It's a beautiful table based off an EM. He got permission from Loserman to go ahead and modify it. So, there we go. It's one ball drain, but the pup is absolutely beautiful. When you have some of the videos going, I'm doing terrible, but it's a very tough EM. The artwork on the back glass, I'll have to ask him who did that. I think it might have been Wildman, probably, if I'm not mistaken. But let's go ahead and do this. Play some more for you. And, oh, we got a raid. Hold on 1 second. Thank you so much, Manu, MPT6K for the raid. I appreciate it. You are awesome. We're talking with iDigStuff as we play Led Zeppelin, one of his original creations. We'll go from there. All right. And say thank you. Thank you so much, Manu, for the raid. You are awesome. iDigStuff, here we go. You're back. All right. Thank you again, Manu, for that raid. I truly appreciate it. I hope you're doing well. You guys are awesome for coming in. We are talking with iDigStuff tonight, an amazing virtual pinball creator, about some of his creations. We had a little bit of an audio issue there, so we're going to try another table after this, and hopefully it works. Otherwise, what we'll do is we'll play it, then have him come back, and then we'll talk about it. But he's a really cool guy. I hope you all stay for this interview. He's very, very... he's got a very cool story, and I'm really digging the conversation. But again, Manu, thank you so much for bringing all your friends. Okay, iDigStuff. Let's talk about Zeppelin. I apologize for that. It was working before on the stream. I don't know why it's not working now, but that's streaming. So
sure.
But go ahead.
Basically, it was just saying like how Peter Guertin, I hope I said his name right, really took this one to the next level. Originally, we released it. Apophis did a bunch of work on it. We got the permission. It was mostly just Apophis and I for the EM version, and then Peter really liked the table, and he asked if he could make a pup for it. And I mean, when he makes a pup, it's like it's awesome. It's incorporated into the scripting. It just really, it's almost like a Stern, like how seamlessly it interacts with the table. And if you played this with his pup, I mean, it takes the whole table to another level. It's pretty amazing. I really enjoyed it, and I thought he did a fantastic job. And what's better than playing pinball and listening to music while you do it too? So I love music. I love those music tables, and that was kind of going back to what we were talking about when I first started teaching myself to mod, and I was just like replacing little drop target sounds and stuff like that. Like one of the very first things as Hi-Rez had that music playing script that he had used on a couple tables, and I took that and started being able to like make soundtracks to the tables. And once that happened, all the wheels were off. I loved it, and this, like I said, was the very first going from plugging little sounds into the drop targets to actually making my first project, and just can't thank everybody involved enough, because without them it would have never happened.
So is there a specific in the music format, is there a specific media file you're looking for? Because I noticed a lot of your files are .oggs. Is that for better lossless audio, or are you...
OGG is a much smaller file than a WAV file.
Okay.
Now on VPX, originally, like if you're gonna use Sound Manager in VPX, it wants to see WAV file. So when I first started, mostly in more advanced tables, the sounds are going to come from the ROM on a regular table, and in the sound manager, you're going to hear it's going to be the mechanical sounds, right? It's going to be all the table sounds. So that's where you would adjust all of that kind of stuff. And early on, when I was doing just the sound modding, I would add the sounds to the sound manager as well, and then just go down. And this is a great way to get a start. I hope I'm not jumping around too much.
No,
if you just want to do sound mod and kind of just start playing around with that, it's basically load the sound you want as a wave into the sound manager. Just start with one. Put one sound in there, and then you go in the script. We've all clicked the button and we've seen the script. And you just go down to a hit event, and you'll find the name of the audio file that's in the sound manager. Replace that name with the name of your audio file, and you're done. That's literally every time that hit event then happens in the game. And I know this is super basic for most people that have done this, but I want to talk to the guys that might want to try it, that have never done it. And you just replace that name, and that's it. Every time that hit event happens, your sound will play instead of that sound. And once you try that and you see how it works, it kind of all starts making a little bit more sense. And you do not have to be a coder. You don't have to be a graphics designer. You don't have to be an engineer, although it helps. And all the smart guys that do the really big stuff usually are. But you can learn it, and you can do it and have fun with it.
Is there an approach you take towards we'll transition to an alt sound package next.
Okay.
Is there an approach you take into deciding which set of media you're looking for as far as creating the audio portion? You know, I know there's a lot with the visuals and art and coding and the scripts, and you're trying to find the right events, but when you're thinking about whether it's an alt sound package or even an original table, are you going into it saying, okay, I know on this event when the ball drains, I want this sound to play, or are you sort of figuring that out as you create?
Both. It depends on the table. Every decision is made based on what the table, sounds cheesy, what the table is telling you, right? So, for instance, if it's built on a property, like a movie, and I'm talking about alt sounds now, we've kind of jumped off. Alt sounds is where the OGG comes in because they're a much smaller file.
Gotcha.
And so you don't have huge alt sound files like 100 megabytes that you need, you know what I mean? Or 200 megabytes that you need. It basically shrinks that down and is a little bit better sound quality than an MP3. Alt sound uses OGGs. So, but going back to the decision making, it's basically like if it's based on a movie, then a lot of the work is self-explanatory. You're going to want to find the quotes, the best moments. Usually, you'll use the soundtrack from it if you can draw from that. As compared to original, obviously the call-outs are going to be a problem because you're not going to be able to redo those. And so when I first started, before I even did alt sounds, I started converting pin sounds to alt sound, which was a way to learn how it all worked. Because I had pin sound on my machine, but usually you have to start it running, you have to put it in the code so it boots up when you start the table. It has to close out after every table. It's a whole thing to get it to work right. It's really awesome and the interface is great. But then I saw alt sounds built into PinMame already. Like you do nothing. Like you don't have to add any software. All you have to do is change one thing in the menu, in the F1 menu, and you're running alt sounds. So I kind of transitioned to that because it's more accessible, less tech behind it, and so there was an opportunity there. There wasn't a lot of alt sounds at the time. There was a lot of great pin sounds. So I started converting those. And some of my early ones, I would just straight convert them. I'd get permission from the pin sound author and I would just straight. And here's the thing though. I don't know if people know this. There is no conversion tool. At least there might be one now, but I don't even know about it. But it was literally a 1-to-1. So you go through 500 sounds and you do them one by one, which is probably why a lot of people don't do them. And it's still like that. Like, Simpsons was the biggest one I ever did. And I think it was 750 sounds or something like that.
Wow. Holy cow.
So it's a lot of work as far as that. But it's fun. And the beginning, Creature from the Black Lagoon, Fish Tales were some of the first ones I did. And those are straight pin sound conversions. So on those, again, it was early on. I wasn't tied to the originals. It didn't bother me so much that they had re-recorded all the call-outs. And I know that's a big sticking point for a lot of people that they're used to the original call-outs, and when people try to reenact them, that it doesn't sound right. And I've come to agree with that conclusion at this point. Earlier, it didn't bother me as much, So those ones have they're reorchestrations. That's how I've decided to call them when I post stuff, which means they were completely reorchestrated. The music is completely rewritten. I mean, kudos to the guys that did it. It's amazing work. He literally reorchestrated all of the music from scratch, brought in people, re-recorded all the call-outs from scratch to just get higher quality. Is really what it's about. It's not about replacing it to replace it with a better acting performance. It's because the original quality of the audio is not great. And for some people, they don't care. For some people, they really care, like myself. For me, it's 50% of the entire equation is the sound. If the sound's not happening, you can do the best re-theme that you want, and I'm not playing it because it's not complete work in my mind. So sound was really important. And then as I got on from there, Batman is a good example because I really wanted to keep it as original as possible. So I'm calling those remasters, I think is what I used, which was I did a video, you can find it on YouTube, it's side-by-side comparison. Because that was a movie property, I was able to redo all the call-outs from cutting movie clips.
Oh.
So, you know what I mean?
You already you already had a source for the assets that you needed.
I had the source for the assets. And when I pick a project, that is a huge part of it, is that I'm not doing my favorite things per se. I'm doing things that I feel could benefit from being updated. And Batman had horrible sound. I had a lot of people tell me that they never played that table until after they added the alt sound because of the sound. Now that they enjoy it quite a bit. And that means the world to me because that's really why I do it and what it was all about. But because it's a movie, I was able to literally, they used all clips from the movie in the original table. So I just basically recut the clips and it worked really well because of that. I was able to replace the call-outs. Now, most of the time, I leave the original call-outs, I remaster them to the best I can, and I change everything else. So the music's all new, the sound effects. Usually, I just try to come up with a better version of the sound effect rather than changing the sound effect because they're good. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm trying to make the original table better. So in most cases. And then there's some fun ones like Cactus Canyon where I just wanted to do a totally wacky, not normal thing. And so all the sound effects are updated, call-outs are all original, and the music is completely new, which is a lot of fun. It's all the greatest Westerns. I love classic Westerns.
So
that was my tribute.
So do you have a sort of different sort of nomenclature naming system for your different creations? Like you said you have an orchestration.
Yeah, reorchestration is the ones that like they actually re-recorded the music. They actually re-recorded the call outs and like really like and re-recorded the sound effects. It's been completely it's all the same call outs and same everything, but just been re-recorded. That's a reorchestration. A remaster is like where I'm keeping the original call-outs and trying to remaster them and then supplementing them with new audio and sound or new music and sound.
Gotcha.
I made it up. It doesn't really mean shit. I'm just trying to keep so when people
it's very
look at it, they kind of have an idea of maybe this has this and this has that.
Yeah, but it's very interesting because when you mentioned Creature from the Black Lagoon, I've played one with the Pin Sound soundtrack, and it had sort of a 50s diner vibe. and it
That's
was
it.
fucking awesome. It was
Yeah.
I
All those callouts have been re-recorded.
Yeah.
You know, like,
And
don't
it was
move
just
my car.
yeah, exactly. That's what I'm when
Some
you
people
say
don't like that.
when you say people have issues or maybe trepidation on people sort of re-recording the call-outs. I get it, because there are some classic call-outs you'll see in like Attack from Mars, Creature from the Black Lagoon, even
For sure.
Whirlwind. People don't want you to mess with what
For
made
sure.
what made it even nostalgic for them. I was playing Terminator 2 this past weekend, and the one big sticking point people say, it's almost like the Back to the Future pin, is that it's not really one-to-one with Arnold's voice, so it kind of distracts you when you're like trying to play it and enjoy it. But I don't know. I like the idea of someone giving their take, like yourself, on remixing these things, remixing these soundtracks, and giving your own spin. Because let's take a look at Stranger Things. Big hit, amazing show. People are clamoring for an updated Stern pin. So you've got people on pin side like Cleveland. Shout out to Cleveland for his sound mods. He's continuously updating physical pin soundtracks so that people get these moments that are now in the latest season of the show, or it's his own personal spin, and it's awesome. It's absolutely awesome.
And I get it, but if you've been playing Diner for 30 years, dude, maybe some new music, I'm just saying, like, and here's the
one
thing.
of my favorites.
And here's the thing, I'm not, it doesn't replace it.
Yeah.
It's just an option, right? So you literally click the menu, put one, reboot, and you have alt sound. You don't want it? Open the menu, turn it off, reboot, you don't have alt sound. It's like, there's no reason to not have it, because you literally could try it. If you love it, you keep it. If you don't have to, or you can go back and forth and have both. I mean, it's literally, that's what I love. The ease of use and just.
Yeah, it's like the visual mods on the tables that you guys are so awesome at adding, like animated toys, sort of like what FX3 does on a lot of their tables.
I mean, Terry's the king of that.
Yeah, exactly.
That new Star Wars table.
Yeah,
he's
Disco Vader.
Turning it into FX3 with the quality of work he's doing, and he's responsible for getting a lot of people into the hobby because of his cab videos.
Oh yeah, his
and people being like, "What the fuck is that? That's amazing," So.
Him and Major Frenchie, man, those were my entry into this addictive hobby, and getting a preview of the upcoming Disco Vader is just what we need. I'm very excited, but I want to segue into one of your alt sound tables. I think what I'm going to do is same thing. Keep the video down. I think I had the volume low. I'm going to try to lower the ROM volume. It'll still play. If you can't hear it, I'll make it a little bit louder. I want to get your opinion while I play it. If it doesn't work out, I'll make the table loud, and then we'll come and do that. We'll talk about it. So let's roll to the, why don't we do the Cactus Canyon alt sound package. This is an amazing table that just got a remake by the Chicago Gaming Company. They were going to finish Lyman Sheets. Shout out him, R.I.P. Lyman Sheets. His sort of vision on the table and the code, because it was notoriously never finished. But here we are. So we're going to go ahead and say goodbye to our awesome guest for a second, and then he'll still be on the stream, and hopefully this works. But as you can see, you can hit exclamation point, "What up, Splud?" iDigStuff to get a link to his page at VPU. Where you can grab all of his creations. So let's go here and go here, and we will load it up, and I will do a test on the audio. God, I hope this works. Once it was working before the stream. Let's do this. I'm just going to lower the sound a little bit. And let's go here, and then I'll bring you up. Okay, can you talk for me for a sec?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. All right, let me hit play.
The Cactus Canyon.
The Cactus Canyon. All right, it's locating the balls. Where did the balls go? It's a virtual machine.
That's what she said.
That's what she said, exactly. All right. Come on, what happened? Where are the balls? What? What is going on? All right. Let me F3 real quick. Maybe that'll help. Let's try it again. Hold on, folks. Why? Okay. It's looking for him. Did it get stuck during my last game or something? And come on, give it to me. Give it to me, give it to me.
Uh-oh.
Nope. Okay, well, let me quit out and load it up again, see if that fixes it. I've never had a locating ball stuck before on that. That is the first time I've ever seen that, especially because it usually just loads up. I hope the alt color didn't mess with it. It shouldn't have, but let's see real quick. Terry says, screw the purist gatekeepers. There's room for everybody. That's what I say. All right, let's try this again. Okay, there we go. So, test. Can I hear you?
Yeah, I can hear
All right,
you.
perfect. Okay, this should work. So, hopefully people can hear you.
Right now, you should hear, and I love this, but it's kind of subtle, is you should hear when the ball is in the launcher, like kind of like Western sounds, like a cart going by and horses.
Yeah, it is a wonderful, it's just such a good table, and it's very fun. It's got a ton of cool little toys and mechs. What was your inspiration in, I know you said you're a fan of like classic films. Were you looking to any like John Wayne, or what were you looking for in making the alt sound for this?
I had some different ideas on how I wanted to do it, but honestly, it was, the call-outs are going to stay the same because this has great call-outs and the original quality is not that bad. So I knew I wanted to update the sound effects just because it's easy. I mean, it's easy to do. It's going to be like, ping, ping, old Western gunshot, fun stuff, I used to do post-production. One of my first job out of college was working at a post house, doing sound effects and Foley. So I love that stuff. So anytime I have a chance to do my own sound effects, I'm going to do them. And so that's why this. And then the rest, like I said, the call-outs are all original. And then the music is just a tribute to all of it. Like I could decide I wanted to go spaghetti Western because I love that music. But this didn't really fit spaghetti Western to me. It was more like the great American Western. So I went with the Magnificent Sevens and just the real classic big scope Western music. And I think it worked out really, really well. And then I tried to keep it true. I always try to keep it true to the original. So like when you do the gunfight, it has that trumpet, and I did a different one, but it's very true to the original vibe. And, because people recognize that and they relate to that, I don't want to completely derail the game, but I want it to be fresh. And I thought that was a good way to do that.
I think that's a great take on it. You're not looking to replace the original experience. You're just looking to supplement it with your own spin. And it's not to take away from the original, but, sometimes there are things that's why patches exist in the computer software land. You know what I mean? It's one of those things that will help, hopefully, the experience. And if you don't want it, all you have to do is hit F1 and go back and then tab over and hit 0, and you're good to go.
That's easy. No additional software needed.
Yeah, exactly. As tough as virtual pinball can be, at least this is still working. But do you have a favorite Western or old Western that you watched? Like, is there
That's
one
a good
film?
question. There's so many. I mean, for different reasons, my favorites. I love the trilogy, with the spaghetti westerns, and I went way back. Even just the other day, I went back. I had never done this. I was like, I'm an Angel fan. I went back and watched a Gene Autry Western from 1940 something, like the old Singing Cowboys, and not because I'm like, I really need to see. I I'm interested. Like I dig stuff, right? So
Is that where the name comes from?
that's where the name comes from, dude. I just love learning about stuff. Like we don't. I mean, I'm not going to retread, but I didn't even know what virtual pinball was when the pandemic started. You know, like when I find stuff that piques my interest, I have to know everything about it. It's just
You're a natural learner.
so.
You yearn for knowledge.
I would be a professional student if that was the job.
It could be.
For some, it might be.
Yeah, I mean, at this day, there's so many online schools. You could, I'm sure you could find something. I was gonna say.
I mean, is there anything better than learning about stuff? I mean, I don't know. Is there? I mean, there's a few things. But.
In terms of your hobbies, you've got. I mean, you've already mentioned some of the stuff you've done in your life. Is this sort of one of the more? Is this an outlet that gives you a lot more creativity, or is this just kind of just a fun one? You know, one that you've been able to make your own, and it's not really that stressful. Maybe it is stressful. I know creation. Sometimes creators are harder on themselves than the general public would be, and it's just sort of that creator's curse. That's why actors and actresses don't watch their own films, because they don't want to, they've been involved in it for so long. So where would you rank virtual pinball as far as in your hobbies? Is it fun?
Well, it's definitely not stressful. Otherwise, it wouldn't be fun. I think I'm going to contradict. There's a certain level of stress that needs to be there, or you're not trying hard enough, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Like, and if that's what you want it to be, that's fine for you. I just think the better projects, there has to be some level of not stress, but just hard work involved in it, you know? Yeah. And witnessing it firsthand, watching the VPW guys firsthand, and just, the Remdois, even his, like that dude, he does his own thing, man. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that he's doing what he wants to do, and you gotta love that. You gotta respect that. Terry has always done his own thing, and for a long time, like beating that future pinball drum, the only one left. You know what I mean? But God bless him.
Whenever we get an update on future pinball, I'm like, all right, what'd Terry create?
Yeah, I have to reinstall this shit now because there's some tables and everything. But it's really what it is to you. That's what all hobbies should be. They should be what you make it. And if it's ever stressful, if it's ever a source of not waking up and thinking about it happily, then maybe do something else.
Yeah, it's. I'm glad you mentioned Remdois, because he was our last interview, and it was so cool to see hearing him say that he spent over 1,000 hours on Pokemon Pinball was just mind-blowing to me, because it's such a love letter to the Game Boy version of the game and in Pokemon Pinball, and you could tell that he was so proud of it, and you can see it in the quality of the actual release. There's sometimes when you put a lot of time into things and it just doesn't work out. That's life. It's not going to come out the way you want it all the time. But when it does, when you put that work in and you see how good it comes out, and then people are enjoying it, I don't know, man. That would make it all worth it for me. I'm about to venture into my own table creation process. I know I'm gonna try to take your words to heart and not make it stressful, because I enjoy this hobby.
You make your own timeline for it.
Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that most of the creators, I would probably say almost all, I'm sure there's some I don't know, that just go on their own time. Oh, nice, we got Goldmine Multiball. That are going to, not feel rushed. It's ready when it's ready.
Yeah. Or you could just be like me and go into VPW and be like, this Simpson table needs to be done in 10 days because I want to release it on Memorial Day. Make it happen.
Did you really?
And kinda, but not really. I went to Apophis, like my guy. Like he does. I mean, I say he's my guy. He's so far beyond my guy now. I say my guy from affection, not like he's my assistant.
Yes.
You know what I mean? But I went to him and I was like, this has kind of been, I've taken this as far as I can take it. There's still some stuff to do. Do you think we could get it out by Memorial Day? I think it'd be, or was it Memorial Day? Yeah, I think it was. Yeah. I think it'd be a really cool release for that. He's like, I think we could do it. And he rallied the troops, and like Six Toed like spent a whole day on it. at least multiple times. Apophis did a ton of work. Ayaki did some Blender stuff. Tamate did the modeling and stuff, and it just came out great. And when they did do it in 10 days, like I took a bunch of time doing all the groundwork. They probably redid most of it. But it was fun. It was great for them to let me be involved. Technically, a team leader or project lead, I was no lead other than I was the producer, and I tried to like keep everything in order and keep the files updated and make sure everybody was communicating. But that's really what a producer does. Really, they find people better at doing it than themselves, but are great. Maybe not great. I don't want to say that, but are better at bringing people together and helping them see a vision. I don't know. That's kind of how I look at it.
But that's what a leader does, and that's what the producer has to do. And when I get off of this, I'm going to ask you some not technical questions, but some stuff about the creative and coding process that you might have learned. But I think you need that sort of person sometimes to sort of say, all right, hey, we've got this deadline. If we can do this, great. Here's what needs to be done next, and we go from there. And I think when you look at the freaking product that came out, if you have not played Simpsons Pinball Party, the VPW version, you gotta play it. It's just so faithful and so good. We were talking before, I just played it at a tourney in Tulsa, and it was awesome how well it compared to the virtual version. And because I had the virtual version, I was able to understand some of the rule set beforehand. And that's what I love about virtual pinball too. One of the big things is now that I'm looking to be more competitive as a pinball player, I'd really like to be able to practice without having to go to an arcade and drop $30-$40 just to figure out the rules.
Be somewhat relatable.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to turn your video on, and here we go. And there you are again. So hello. But thank you for blessing us with that Cactus Canyon alternative sound package. I think when you're talking about how you have a love of spaghetti westerns, old westerns, it reminds me of my love for Charlie Chaplin films. That old sort of style of film. And shout out to Board for his love of classic films as well, because
like Who Done It?
Yes,
his beautiful version, 1947, I think he calls it, that he did and I don't know how I stumbled upon it, but it was before he had actually put it out, and I was just like, man, this is awesome. Can I do an alt sound for it? And that was one of the earliest ones I did. I'd have to go back and check it, and it could probably be improved. But I think it's underrated, and I think it's a lot of fun. If you love classic noir films, that's a great tribute table.
I completely agree. We got a question. Does it ever feel weird treating a project as your own, even though your original game was created by others? I don't think so. I think it's great.
Well, I don't really treat them as my own.
Yeah, I mean, I would treat it as like a tribute. That's what, like the Batman 66 tribute by the Fishbowl or Guardians of the Galaxy. Those are tribute tables, and they're super faithful to the original, or some of like Simpsons Pinball Party and all the ones we've seen recently.
I'm not sure if that question is referring to like a real pinball table and recreating VPX, or taking another VPX project and kind of building off of that.
Yeah,
but that happens all the time. That's the entire hobby. So
yeah, I mean, that's again, we had a great conversation beforehand. A lot of stuff is going to come out, but we were talking about how we are so lucky to have companies understand that this hobby does help the overall pinball hobby, because it introduces new entrants and new participants into pinball itself, which leads to the purchasing of physical pins in the long run. Maybe not everybody, but it does happen.
Oh, it happens quite often. It happens quite often. I mean, go on any of the groups.
Yeah.
Like every single day you see virtual guys like, got my first real pin. It happens. Like I played pinball. We were talking about before the pandemic. I played pinball maybe 3 times in my life. And discovered, virtual pinball and fell in love. And now me and the wife go play real pinball all the time. So it definitely happens. We can't afford a real one yet, but it's on the horizon. I mean, it's definitely in consideration at some point.
Hopefully, I mean, JJP, you don't need to charge $12,000 for your basic model of Toy Story, but hopefully,
And of course, that's the ones she loves. Right? She wants Wizard. She wants Wonka. Like, babe, let's be realistic here.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, luckily, I will tell you, I've been watching pinside prices, the secondary market. They are sort of stabilizing. They're still crazy, but hopefully everybody gets, if you want a pin, hopefully one becomes accessible to you. You know, and it's a great hobby, and it's awesome.
For sure.
So, thank you for.
And I don't know. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, I don't know. I'm not looking at the viewership because whatever. But if anybody has any questions about alt sounds or stuff like that,
yes, please.
Feel
If you
free.
if you have a question during this interview, feel free to chime in at any time. I'll be happy to.
I want more people to get involved in it and to learn about it and to understand it and to enjoy it.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about these conversations is they're not that deep. They're very basic. When we have a conversation about a hobby we love, there's a reason for it, and we just want to continue to keep it going and keep whatever negativity we can out of it. So with Cactus Canyon, we had an awesome alt sound soundtrack, but you're also known for original tables. And you mentioned before you love different hobbies, and one of those things are tikis. How did you come to love tikis?
That's a good question. I'm a Disney fan. Like,
okay.
I grew up. I was born in Anaheim. I live in Southern California. I'm not. I feel like nowadays you kind of have to quantify everything. It's like I'm not a huge Disney crazy person. I'm not a huge fan of the Disney Corporation per se. I like Disneyland. You know what I mean? Like Disneyland's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I like Imagineering. I like learning how the rides work. I like the creativity involved with it, and always had a soft spot for the Tiki Room and Adventureland and the Jungle Cruise and mid-century, kind of tied into all that. I love like all things kind of mid-century, Palm Springs architecture,
I was just
music,
say,
all that kind of stuff. It all just kind of comes together, man. You know what I mean? It's like kind of the sweet spot where it all crosses.
I was just gonna say, Palm Springs is probably your heaven. Then that mid-century motif out there is beautiful.
Yes. My dog is a dog of the Avanti, which is a boutique hotel out there.
That's so funny.
Where you can take your dog. I have a golden retriever, and she lays by the pool, and they bring her ice water, bro. I mean, come on.
That is amazing.
Palm Springs.
You know what? You and my wife would probably. I mean, I love mid-century modern. It's not like my first love, but my wife loves it. So you two would probably have awesome conversations.
It's not necessarily mine, but I love the aesthetic.
Yeah, it's cool. Like I've seen, unfortunately, I've seen estate sales. You know, they're not the most happy of time, but estate sales where they do have a ton of cool mid-century modern stuff. I'm like, oh man, that would look cool in this room or whatever, because it's sort of the architecture is just so beautiful and unique. And it's one of those things that you don't see in like tract developments, and when you can kind of get that sort of neighborhood, it's awesome. So
and tiki bars are fucking cool.
Yeah. So what is the Tiki Room? I'm sort of blanking on that. Am I missing something?
Tiki Room is an original thing when Disneyland opened. One of the only things there that's actually some Disney nerds gonna correct me. It might not have been open at the very beginning, but it's an old ass attraction.
Okay.
And you just go in, and it was basically when they invented animatronics, and there's a bunch of animatronic singing birds that sing the Tiki Room song and do a show. There's another thing I love. I love like water, so fountains, swimming, all things water, boating. I don't know, I just love it.
Nice. I
think there's something that all the different elements I'm just drawn to.
So were you a big?
They do a fountain show, and it's just cheesy and hokey and cute and fun, and it kind of ties in. There's a great little hidden bar. It's not hidden really, but it's a small little bar in the Disneyland Hotel that was a tiki vibe that's been there for many, many years, and that's kind of where all that kind of got started. So
So were you a showbiz pizza kind of guy, or with the animatronics, or was it more just relegated to Disneyland?
You mean like Chuck E. Cheese?
Yeah, Chuck E. Cheese.
Well, I don't know if we had Showbiz Pizza. Did we? Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah, Chuck E. Cheese is creepy. That's different.
I'm dating myself, and
that movie, working on that table for what's his face kind of ruined Chuck E. Cheese for me. The what was it? That Nick Cage movie where he's like
Willy's Wonderland.
Willy's Wonderland, and they made the table and they had me help them out with the sound on that, so I had to watch the movie, and I was just like, yeah, Chuck E. Cheese is creepy.
Well, I don't
like scary stuff. See, I'm putting it all out there today.
Go ahead.
Nobody cares, but I'm gonna give it to you anyway.
I care.
I hate scary shit. I hate scary stuff. I hate superhero stuff. You will not. And I know a massive portion of this hobby is metal music, scary stuff, superhero stuff, all stuff I hate. I'm not metal. I like some metal, but like, you know, because of music, I like all different styles. But yeah, not for me. I like, you know, more like you're talking about the tiki table.
Yeah.
What's better than aliens coming down from outer space? Yeah, the atomic age, throwing a beach party with having some tiki drinks with some beautiful alien chicks. That sounds awesome, right?
It does sound awesome. It does.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a vibe I can get into.
I was bringing up animatronics because I worked at Chuck E. Cheese for like 6 years, so I thought maybe you made your way out there. But
all I remember from Chuck E. Cheese is that under the stage, there was this crazy little box that you could go in, and it would just have a strobe light.
Yes. Going
off the whole time. So you're like, I don't know, a bunch of 9-year-olds just going bonkers in there in slow motion. That's all I remember from Chuck E. Cheese. Getting you were belligerent on Coca-Colas and going in the strobe room under the stage.
Strobe room. I gotta look that up now. That was maybe.
I swear to God, the one I had in Covina on Azusa Avenue, it had that.
That's amazing. So, are you a West Coast kid? Have you been there most of your life?
My whole life, born and raised in Los Angeles.
Nice. Okay.
Which is a whole nother topic, because working in the entertainment industry my whole life, I'm the only one that's from here.
Yeah, right. It's especially LA. It's all transplants, which you learn quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've ever been to, go ahead.
Go ahead. Ever been to?
I was gonna say, if you've ever been to LA and you've seen the high school with the cool mural on the outside, or near Hollywood,
Hollywood High.
It's beautiful because it's just a cool throwback. Like, I just remember researching stuff on I Love Lucy one time, and it was how like Fred Mertz died on the corner of one of the strips in streets in Hollywood, and it's just that's part of LA. Sort of, I don't want to say it doesn't exist, but it's all transplants. So
yeah, well, I have my whole LA theory. If we have time, I don't want to go too off on it, but like, people that are from LA are surfers, skaters, chill, just go with the flow type people for the most part. It's like a lot of the not chill people are not from LA.
Yeah, I mean, they probably have this thing of how it is supposed to be, and when it's not that.
The people that come here think they need to act like the LA that they've seen their whole life on TV, which is not. That's fake. You know, it's TV.
Yeah, it's not.
I hate to break this to you.
It's not 90210.
It's not real. It's an illusion.
We do have a question.
It's not real now, because if you go to Hollywood now, it looks like a war zone. It's not a great time.
We do have a question for you. It says, do you have plans for the V-Pin cabinet in the background? Thank you, Nitro.
As far as?
Yeah, I'm not sure. It looks like it's operating. It's got the cool LED matrix. So you have the full DMD too, right? Full DMD.
Full DMD. I got the full LED matrix down both sides and across the back. And yeah, here's the thing. I see a lot of guys, and again, I'm probably talking out of ignorance. I apologize. I see a lot of guys having problems, like when they're building their cabs, and they're like talking about having to decase their TVs and like to fit it in the cab and to do the da-da-da, and I get that. Or you could just build the cab to the size your TV is. That's
Yes.
what I did.
Yeah, I think that's a smart approach because decasing adds so many issues. What size playfield monitor
we're
are you?
really going to be talking, it might be a half inch off
Yeah.
from a real table, or who cares? You know, save yourself the trouble. I just had a 43-inch TV, and I built the cab to fit the TV. Done.
Nice. No routing necessary.
I mean, I say done. It took me like a year.
Do
to
you
build the
have
whole thing.
what is your feedback? Do you have like physical feedback with shakers, solenoids, or do you do the
SSF.
SSF? Okay, that's like me.
Yeah.
Nice.
Fully SSF. I have because I didn't want any high voltage in there really.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I guess the lights have voltage coming in, but I was so satisfied with SSF and my setup, the way I have it set up, and thump and pin volume. I mean, these are all things, if we're talking sound, you must have really on your cab. A lot of guys get good results without thump, but if you dial thump in and you target those frequencies for your speakers, I mean, I don't miss having contactors. And again, the real pinball guys, blasphemy, I'm sure. And I understand that. I went over to Apophis's cab and played his, and he has contactors. They feel great. I don't miss it. I think my SSF does a solid job for my setup, and that's really all it comes down to, what you want for your own setup. That's the beauty of it.
And you know what? It's a really good. I'm thinking now a good question for me to ask you because you're so knowledgeable about everything audio. Is the surround sound feedback? Does it meet your level of expectation for providing that full pinball experience? Because I love it. I absolutely love what they've done with Pinball, Thump, SSF, all the good stuff based on software. So I'm wondering, as sort of an expert in the field of audio, does it meet your level of expectation?
I mean, for me, it does.
Yeah.
I mean, what are we talking about? We're talking about a transducer stuck to the side of a piece of plywood, right? So we're not creating, we're not recording. I don't know, the next big album here. Like the sound is all relative. Like you just need it to kick, and for you to feel it. The whole for me is I want to feel it. I want to feel it in my hands when my hands are on the table.
Okay.
Right? That's where. What else is touching? Nothing. So it's all about hearing it in the way you want to hear it, and about feeling it the way you want to feel it in your hands when you have your hands on the lock bar. And for me, it does that.
That's awesome. I mean, it's really good to hear because it's such a personal thing to dial in with what amps you get if you're using an internal sound card to sort of help out, or a USB sound card external. For me, the biggest mind-blowing thing was the positional sounds and the rolling of the ball up the chute.
As soon as you hear that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that. I heard that. I was like, fuck physical stuff right now. I just need this. This is beautiful, and it's not going to wake up my kids late at night right now.
Exactly.
So
Look, we're not playing a real pinball table. The sound is not going to actually come from the bumper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's going to come. You can put the mechanics in there, but they're still coming from inside the cabinet. You know what I mean? So, I just think that the SSF, what they've done with SSF, is just amazing. And it was, like everybody at first, it might be a little tricky to get set up.
Yeah.
But just keep plugging away at it. You're going to figure it out. There's plenty of people that'll help you, and good resources for that. And that with everything in this hobby. And that's another thing I always want to hit on is that, I keep harping on the fact that I'm not a coder and I'm not this and this and this. I'm just a fan like you, like everybody. And you can do it. And you don't have to figure it all out in one day. That's the beauty of the hobby. Is
Don't download
learning
packs.
this thing, and then the next time you have time, you learn this thing, and that's how it goes.
There's no rush.
Next thing you know, it may take a year, but then you have a cabinet, or you have your original table, like you're about to start, or whatever. Don't just make realistic goals.
Yeah, you don't have to rush. Don't go out there, download all the tables at once. You're gonna fucking go crazy. Just take your time.
I always say that. Make sure this is working before you.
Yeah. Even with awesome software by Nailbuster like Baller Installer, there's still a lot of components you have to get dialed in and right. I will have this PC. I've built this thing to hopefully be future proof, and it will still bust down on me. So just understand there are going to be road bumps. But once you get past those road bumps, you get to play awesome pins and creations like Tiki Bob's Atomic Beach Party, which we're going to load up right now.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. So I'm going to load it up, and you can go ahead. Let me see. This is not an original ROM, correct? Am I mistaken on that?
No, this has a ROM.
It is a ROM. Okay. So good. So I can control the sound. That's why I was asking. Where are you? Tiki Bob. Tiki. There you are.
Based off of Cheetah. I used the JP Salas version of Cheetah for this.
Gotcha. Oh, nice.
And honestly, that was just because he allows permission to mod all his tables. So when I was looking for a table to mod, I just started on his stuff because I knew there wouldn't be any hitches on being able to do it. And thank you to him for allowing that.
Yes, thank you, JP Salas. Thank you, Capo B, for that follow. You are a true pin pal. Yes, Apophis, we did turn off the ROM sounds. That was one of the things we did check.
Watching that other video where he knew I was going to lose my shit because the ROM sounds were on. I was like, he's just fucking out for me. He did have a large part, as I said earlier, in basically everything that I try to do pinball related. But I'm getting hopefully we'll see it when you go up the left there. Under the UFO, there's a tractor beam that comes down and pulls the ball up. He helped code all of that and just had good feedback for me whenever I had any questions.
So I want to one thing that's really cool right now is your video's still on because I was able to leave the Chrome window up, so it's on the back glass. So we're good to go.
Oh, cool.
Your video's still on, which is awesome.
I'm glad.
Yeah. Did you want to give any shout outs or credits to anybody on the project that helped you with this before I started up?
Yeah, on this one I have to look it up, but it was mostly Apophis and I.
Okay.
Let me look. I just have a horrible memory, dude.
I want to give you a real. It's very subtle, but it's fucking awesome. This little thing on the apron that says iDigElectronics Inc. Very, very cool.
I'm glad you noticed that. I just saw that and I thought it would be fun.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Subtly,
It's like an artist putting his signature in a hidden spot. I like that.
Yeah. And another thing I really love about this table that I hadn't seen done before was the kind of the star field effect down at the apron, and then up above where the rocket tip is on the shooter lane. There's kind of star effect.
Yeah. So what he's talking about is if you look at the apron, the stars are sort of blinking like they would obviously in the night sky, and right here on the top of the shooter lane, this little rocket. You'll see the stars moving. Very subtle effect, but these are the things that when you're playing and you notice them, you're like, okay, that's fucking cool. Let's fucking go. Let's roll.
I love little stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna plunge, and hopefully I can get it up that left lane because I do like the tractor beam. It reminds me of the one in Attack from Mars on the DMD animation when you hit the. Oops, that was terrible. When you hit the enough lanes on. It's one of the ramps, I think.
Let's see that if I can.
Let's see. So what, again, your inspiration was just the tiki. There it goes. Nice. Beautiful effect. You hit up the left orbit, and it takes on this treadmill approach to go up to the UFO. Is there a mode in this pin that you're really proud of, that you're like, yeah, that's pretty cool that we added that in, or a feature?
I was totally listening to the playback, and I missed the question.
That's okay. Is there a mode or feature that you're really proud of on this pin?
Yes. There's a few, and there's no modes because I'm not talented enough to to make modes. But I just saw it. I love the volcano. When you go behind, the volcano erupts. And funny story is that when that flame animation that you see,
yes,
when the volcano, there you go. That I stole from Led Zeppelin because Peter had made that for the blimp, When you hit that spinner, the blimp catches on fire, which is an awesome animation. I was like, I'm stealing that and I'm making that a volcano to erupt. The volcano is actually from Congo.
Oh shit!
I took the volcano from Congo. This is a great example because when I started making this table, I had no idea what I was doing. So I didn't really follow any set, guidelines for it. So I kind of like looked at tables and that had things that I liked and asked permission to borrow those things. So if you look at on the left where the UFO beams you up, that you may recognize that treadmill underneath is from Scott's table.
TNA.
Pizza Time.
Oh, Pizza Time. Scotty Wick, not Scott Denisi.
Scotty Wick. That's from Pizza Time.
Oh shit, that's right. That's
Yeah.
he's on the left orbit too.
Exactly. And then so the volcano was from Congo, and I just rotated it the opposite way. So that was cool because I was just learning how to mess with 3D models and stuff, and so that was already had the textures that would glow if you put light in it. So a lot of the work, was done on that. And amazing. That's awesome. But I don't think if I would have told you that, you would even know that was from Congo. And that's kind of what what we're going for, right?
Yeah, I would not have known that. And what's crazy is we played Congo in the VPC Discord for competition. And now that I'm looking at it, I remember staring at that damn volcano all the time. And it's great that you have this sort of reusable asset, but it works with your theme so well that it's like, it's nice to not have to recreate the wheel at times.
And so here we go. On the bumpers up top, the triple bumps, the little area there, you see the little parrots on the bumper caps. That's the tribute to the Tiki Room. Because those are the birds from the Tiki Room. And then there's actually a really cool effect to up in that bumper area, top left, there's a stand-up target in there. If you hit that, the whole table turns blue and lightning effect happens.
Oh, the one that says 5,000 extra ball or 100,000? Is that the one?
Yeah, I can't see it. It's basically on the other side of the wall under the UFO. So it's on
I
the
see it.
bumper wall.
Yeah, that's the one. I'm gonna try to hit it
you
if
hit
I
that
can.
and you get. Well, that's fun too. The whole table turns green, and you get the old radio announcement that the UFO that we're being invaded.
Nice.
So I have a little delay on my feed, so I'm probably not telling it exactly as it's happening. I apologize.
No, you're totally good. Capo B, yes. That's not a silly question. We get that a lot, especially with how far advanced virtual pinball has come, and that's all due to these amazing creators. This is a virtual pinball table being played on a physical cabinet right now. This is as if you were playing a wide body pinball machine, but it's got 3 monitors. It's got a back glass monitor, a playfield monitor that's a TV, and a LCD as a third screen. But you can play this table and all virtual pinball tables on a laptop, desktop. You do not need a physical cabinet. It's a great way to get introduced to the hobby. Just check it out on the laptop or a PC and see if you're interested. This one is called Tiki Bob's Atomic Beach Party. It's by our guest, iDigStuff. He's in the bottom left. We're talking to him about his awesome creations, and Apophis as well helped on the table. And so what we're doing is playing this original table modeled after, or rethemed after Cheetah, a classic pinball machine. So hopefully that answers your question. And let me see what else.
It was well said.
Thanks. And so, but it's not a silly question. A lot of times if you go, there are many cool pinball streamers in here. Manu, Game Club Central, Fliptronic. We all stream pinball. MPT3K, sorry, I make sure I give him the right shout out. But we all stream pinball, and what's great is we do have people come and say, hey, is this a real machine? Is this a virtual machine? And yeah, these are virtual machines, and a lot of us either stream with direct capture or with playfield cams. So come check any of the pinball streamers out. You'll catch them on any random day streaming, and it's a really cool hobby, and we're going to keep playing this because this is one of the most relaxing tables that I have.
I'm glad you said that.
I don't feel
because
stressed
that's
playing
honestly, that is the vibe. Like, remember I said I don't like scary shit. I don't like superhero shit. I like chill shit.
So are you? So you're not playing Five Nights at Freddy's by Rem
No,
Dwas?
nope, no, sir. No, I do. I just, that's kind of why I started doing music tables, where it's kind of like you just take an EM and pick. I always kind of wanted, I'd love to like retheme movies with my own soundtracks, or, just for fun, that kind of stuff. And this is exactly that, but and I feel like in a cooler way, where I can actually have a project and put something out. And that's what was the whole point of this, was to create an ambience that is chill, relaxing, but still challenging and fun.
I want you to make sure you read Terry's comment. He said you will be the first to test Silent Hill out.
Yeah, I see. I can't even watch his preview videos, dude.
Yeah,
I'm like, nope. Nope.
So
That
did
shit's
you have
scary.
a traumatizing experience with like The Exorcist or something? Oh, okay.
I know, like Terry, like you're gonna do something and some monster's gonna jump out at you and start breakdancing, and I'm like, no.
So you're not
Terrifying.
A fan. You're not a fan
I
of
mean,
jump
cool,
scares.
but terrifying.
I get it. Jump scares aren't for everybody. I totally get it.
Yeah.
Before I leave this table, I got it again. The art is
I love the
freaking
table.
beautiful. I'm looking
Another
at it. You've
fun
got
thing is to hit the Rocket Tiki bumper on the left. It starts out where the sign is flashing because
Yep.
it's on the fritz, and then when you hit that bumper, it'll turn solid, like you fixed it.
yeah.
Like little details
This
like that I love.
amazing little details. So how did you get the artwork done? Was that something you were looking for assets, or did you get help with that?
I did all the artwork on this myself,
Wow.
which
Holy
is a
shit.
great point, because I am not a graphic artist. I literally downloaded Paint 3D and did this entire table in Paint 3D
I mean, I
by
got
going on Google, finding images like mid-century alien or whatever, and I did, think about, like, I kind of want it has to be cohesive, so green,
yeah.
the coloring. You can also change that, with these programs, which is pretty easy. So, just something for beginners to think about. If it's not the right color, you can always change that easily. And then it was a slow process. I would be like, I made like the main section above the flippers first, where I was like, because that's going to be where you're looking a lot. That's your main art usually goes in that section. And I used stuff from the original table. For instance, all the really cool leaf work, that's from Cheetah.
Yep.
I just recolored it.
Yeah, it's I'm looking at the leaves now, and I love how they connect from the bottom of the in lanes to the bottom of the table, and then once you hit the plastics on the left and
Yes.
right, they're still continuing. Like, it's just so cool that it's like a continuous sort of image, and then you have I'm looking at, okay, so like the Rocket Tiki Motel sign, just perfect mid-century modern Palm Springs hotel motel.
Yeah, it makes sense now.
Yeah, then you've got the lady drinking maybe
Fire eater.
Yeah, fire eater, and you've got the flames coming out from under. Then you just take a look at the pop bumpers. It says Fritz, Pierre, and Jose as the parrots' names for your callback to the tiki room. Just so cool. These little details that are, and you see the alien on the top right. Coming out of the scoop on the right-hand side where the alien saucer is, and then you've got him shooting out to the alien that looks like he's from Attack from Mars. Just well done, man. I can't believe this. I'm not going to say I can't believe it because you couldn't do it, but one person doing all the artwork is always so impressive to me. So when I say I can't believe you did it, it's because of that reason.
Well, I copied and I pasted and manipulated.
Yeah.
I want to be clear, I didn't draw it.
that still takes time and talent. I mean, look at the top of the playfield. You've got the Danger Hippo sign.
I love that.
Yeah,
I mean, I look at this table right now, and I love this table, and it's because, I mean, that's how you should feel about it when you're done. Like, you put your heart and soul into it, and everything that my favorite things are in this table. That's where I drew from. There was no theme. It was like, I just want to take all these things I think are cool and then figure out a theme to make it work.
Was it hard to get, I mean, I know, I'm sure Apophis helped you. Was it hard to get some of the sort of, so you're matching up the artwork, right, with the existing ROM code on Cheetah. Was it hard to get that technical stuff taken care of, or was
No, because I basically just all the ROM is being used for is the scoring at this
Okay.
point.
Okay.
Everything's been replaced. So the ROM is doing the scoring, but all the ROM sounds are off through the script.
Gotcha.
If you do play this table and for some reason you hear the bing, ding, 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 that's wrong. It should turn off through the script, but there's been times where I've seen it and it wasn't automatically turned off. So just know that if you do play that and you hear that, you can go to the F1 menu, deselect use sound, and then you hear it. And the reason you can do that is because the sounds have been replaced in the sound manager. So this was an example of a table that is old enough that I couldn't really make an alt sound.
Gotcha.
Because PinMame 32, I don't want to get too technical, but there's a software called PinMame 32 that is, everybody has it. It's in your PinMame folder. And you use that to create the alt sound for tables from scratch. So basically reads the ROM and records all of the sounds for you, and then you can then manipulate them. And it also spits out the CSV, and that's how you create an alt sound. I have a video on that on my YouTube channel if you want to check that out.
What's your YouTube name?
It's just iDigStuff.
Okay.
Yeah, just iDigStuff. But some of these older tables, Stearns specifically, and I don't want to give out any wrong information. I'm sure there's much more knowledgeable people than me that will watch this at some point, but it's not easy. You can't create an alt sound.
We got it. So we got the blue
mode.
The
sounds had to be in the sound manager in VPX for this.
Gotcha.
So all the hit events and everything are there. I just saw the
we just hit it.
Fine. Yeah. All the sounds had to be replaced in VPX and then assigned in the script, like we were talking about in the very beginning of how when you first started doing sound, or when I first started doing sound mods, that's how you would do it. Which isn't as it's great for EM tables like this. It only becomes a problem when you get on more modern tables that have modes and stuff like that. Hit events aren't going to cut it. You need to be able to program the sounds for the modes, and that's why newer tables, alt sound is a much preferred way to do it. If you're going to do EM tables, you can do it in the sound manager, if that makes sense.
Yes, no, it does. And that was sort of the technical look into sort of the process that I was hoping for. So I'm glad you said a lot of that, because I know people might get confused with names like PinMame and all that, but it's all part of your packages. You can always go check the GitHubs for the latest pre-releases. Oh, hit it. Yes, we got it again. Hell yeah. I love that. That's so cool. So coding that, was that just sort of a lighting thing?
Absolutely. I just went nuts with the light. This is what I love about this table, and what some people might not like so much is it's completely fantasy lit. It's not realistic, obviously. Not realistic as lit as a real pinball table. For instance, you talked about the fire eater lady in the tub. You can see that fire is lit that she's in. Yes. And across from that, right next to it, the saucer that's crashed into the ground, that's also lit. And those go out and come back on with different events in the table. What I did is I just I put bulbs there myself and tied them into the GI. So every time the GI comes on, those happen. And then I just made the GI turn off and come back on when you hit the volcano. So it's all very basic lighting commands when you break it down like that. And anybody could do it. But the overall effect, when you stack them, becomes cool.
Yeah, it becomes very cool. It is. I'm glad so many people are getting to see this right now, because we got people saying, "Yeah, I love this table." And for new VPin hobbyists, even old ones that haven't seen it, I'm really glad you get a chance to take a look at this one. When we played it in Competition Corner, I'm so glad it was chosen, because it's such a good piece of work that when it all comes together like this. And I don't want to gloss over the fact that Apophis said you have a hot alien fetish, which is fine. We're not judging here.
I didn't even see that. I mean, I wouldn't say he's wrong.
But that was a look at Tiki Bob's Atomic Beach Party. Again,
Apophis did the back glass for this one as well, which turned out great, because I just love what he did.
Yeah, it's very, very cool. So again, ! iDigStuff. You can get a link to our guests' VP Universe page. Shout out to Daz for hosting all of it.
Sure.
And you will see all of his files, tables, alt sound creations. We're going to still go through some more. You're still good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Just want to check.
I mean, I don't know if anybody's watching, so I'm just going with
we
the
have
flow, you know?
we have a very solid crowd, and we have a lot of the people in the hobby, which is even better because they can help correct us or guide us in case we say something wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
But we are doing good. So, how long did it take for that table to come sort of to fruition? Was that a year-long thing? Maybe
It was a year.
Okay.
It took me a year. I mean, I know some guys can churn out tables, like Remdois does like one a month or something like that, or sets really strict timelines for me. I didn't set any deadlines on this table because it was my first. Like Led Zeppelin had a lot of factors because it was a real table we converted, and a lot of people had to get permissions and blah, blah, blah. But this one, I just kind of started slowly just kind of messing with, and then it kind of evolved into something like, hey, this could be something.
Yeah.
So it definitely took a year, and I don't like to bother people, so I literally teach myself coding by like going in the script and trying stuff until it works. And then if I just can't and I get completely frustrated, I'll be like, Apophis, please.
What's been your biggest your biggest hurdle? Coding or coming up with ideas or sort of making it all work together?
That's a good question. It's got to be the coding. Just because I really enjoy it though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
Like basic coding, we can all do it. Like you don't have to be a coder. Once you learn how a few commands work, especially if you're just doing sounds and basic stuff, it's like once you see, you'll recognize it and you'll know exactly what to do after you do it just a couple times. That's why I encourage people to not be afraid of the script. Just save a copy of the table, and no matter what you do, you just crash it and bring the old one over and you're fine. You know what I mean? Get in there.
Yeah.
I was terrified at the beginning, but once I got in there and I changed a few things, and then you start the table and your things are now on the table, you're hooked, man. You're hooked.
When you don't get an error message and you're like, holy shit, that worked.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, and that's why we all do this and spend so much time and free. But yes, I like to talk, obviously, as you could tell. But yes, this one took about a year from concept to finish.
Nice. And so when I ask about biggest hurdle, is there some, I mean, other than coding, which we've kind of gone over, is there some piece of software that you found yourself having to learn, like Blender or
Blender?
Okay.
Blender only on the most recent Simpsons, which nothing I really did in there like made it to the table because I didn't need to. We had guys that were much better at it doing that stuff. But I did for the first time get in there. I made the donut tutorial that everybody does where you make home, right? The guy. And just watching Board and watching Ayaki and these guys, all the Tomate, all the Blender guys and what they do in there. It's incredible where the hobby is headed.
Yeah.
And when you look at these newer tables and you're like, that looks real, that's because of what these guys are doing in Blender. And the new Twilight Zone and the new lighting plugin, and I don't want to get this wrong because I only peripherally have known about it, and I can't think of the guy's name. Someone in the chat, please help me out. I don't think it's Flepper, but it's another guy that's doing the lighting. Anyway, he made a plugin for Blender that all the guys in BPW are learning now that is changing everything. It's like getting VPE level. I mean, not really, but it's pushing that envelope of VPX. It's a great time to get into the hobby. The tables have never been better than they are right now.
And that's
thanks to them.
And that new lighting, I'm so glad you mentioned it. Just the preview video, and I'm gonna segue into a VPE after that. The new lighting, that the effects on this new plugin look unreal, and whatever system you're running, and the fact that it's sort of being made as a simple, or I don't want to say simple, seamless transition is unbelievable. which brings
Yeah.
me to VPE. What is your not interest? What is your expectation or hope for the next iteration of visual pinball? Is it looking at VPE and getting everything in Unity, and then making things?
I think so.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking above my pay grade at this point, because you know those other guys I mentioned many times in this chat conversation are really the guys on the forefront of that stuff. But from what I've seen, and just looking at the Terminator 2 and the videos that are available, and looking, you know, understanding the little bit of it that I do, it's going to completely change the way tables are made. First of all, it's going to be much more in what I expect to be like a traditional video game is made.
Okay.
I think in the long run, it'll be more accessible to people because it won't have all the quirkiness and weirdness that VPX does, being an older program and stuff.
Yeah.
Where you have to click on this and this and this in that order, or it doesn't do the thing. If you do this, or you know, it gets a little finicky at times. My hope for VPE is that it looks, the playability is as good as it looks. Basically, that's really my only hope, because it looks fabulous. So I think it's going to change the game when that comes out, and it'll take a while for tables to get made. Obviously, you know, when everything changes like that. And with the tables we have now, what these guys are doing in VPX, I mean, we're pretty happy. It's not like we're lacking right now waiting for VPE, you know what I mean? VPE is just going to be a big cherry on top, because what these guys are already doing is just crazy good.
Yeah, and it's funny, the Terminator video came out, and I was like, okay, this is just mind-meltingly amazing. And then another video came out, and I feel like, I don't want to say people are glossing over it, but it's an old EM called Volley, and it looked, I just fucking love the designs of all these older tables. The art is so,
it's a lot of,
yeah, it just looks so good, and I was like, it's just, we're so spoiled in this hobby because we have so many cool people like yourself working on stuff like this.
Oh,
who have a passion for it. And then it comes to us, and hopefully, you know, not even just as streamers, but people that play at home on their own. I hope they get to see just the amount of passion and work that go into it. And there's just so much good stuff coming. You know, you if you're out there and you don't have anything to play, that's on you. There has been so much released.
For damn sure.
There's been so much released in these last few years.
You know what's funny?
Go ahead.
And I'm not, you know, coming late to the game. Like I said, I just got into it in the pandemic, so I've you know, crash coursed myself, because that's what I do in the past few years. But I'm not shit talking at all. Again, I come from this with no background. But if you look at the quality of tables from just a few years ago to the quality of tables that are being made now, and that's not all of them. There was some from a few years ago that are still phenomenal, that hold up very well. Maybe go back a few more years, maybe 5.
Yeah. Pre G5K and Flupper.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to say, basically. To the quality now, it's like night and day, man. I mean, it's not. So you think about where this hobby is headed, and just kind of like everything, how condensed and how much better it's getting at such a faster rate is incredible.
Yeah, the rate of the technology that's being advanced is stunning. And what's crazy is we talk about NIWAC's lighting system. When Flupper came out with Whirlwind's my all-time favorite pinball machine. Just it's got such a nostalgia kick for me. When I was a kid, seeing the fan blow air on me was like the most mind-blowing thing.
Right.
I was like, what is going on? This is overloading all my senses. So when Flupper came out with this 4K Whirlwind, I was done. Like I was right there. I was like, I don't need anything else. But then more came out, and I was like, this is crazy. It just keeps getting better and better, and we have
We're spoiled.
Go ahead.
We're so spoiled.
Right now. Yeah, we're just so spoiled, and it's. I don't want to say like say it like a bad thing. We're spoiled in a good way because we've got good vibes going on in the hobby, and that's the reason things kind of keep getting to progress. And one of the coolest vibes is these adaptations of different themes. And shout out to Board, man. When I talked to him, it was like a month and a half, we did one of these interviews with Board.
Nice.
I got to play. I'll send you a link to it. I'll send a link to everybody for the I'm gonna put these videos all in a collection so people can just go 1 through 9. But we got to play some of his creations, like Skyway, which is one of the best EMs I've ever played because it's so unique and original, and it's just got the one flipper. But we also played one of his takes on pinball machine, Who Done It 1947. And I want to approach that as well because you also did some work on it. Tell us what you contributed.
I love noirs, right? Black and white, all the 40s stuff. I just think it's such a cool aesthetic, such a cool time period for classic cinema. And just, I mean, black and white, hard light, smoking, drinking, murder. I mean, what's not to like? What's not to like? And I saw his table, and I can't remember, honestly. I'll be perfectly honest. I don't remember whether I may have had the idea of doing whodunit and doing kind of noir music for the original artwork, maybe. But I know for sure once I saw his 1947 tape, that was what was happening. Like that was perfect for that vibe. So at that point, all I did, because it's not a specific modes and theme, there's a little bit of that going on. I just tried to make it very you're in that vibe, right? Okay. Like kind of like I went through a bunch of noir movie soundtracks. I even pulled some of the sounds in that are from old video games. Grim Fandango. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Yeah,
that is
I remember
amazing point. Yeah.
Yeah, that was on the. I think I had that on the PS3 maybe.
And it's an old point and click by I don't know if that's a LucasArts ones or not, but I had just an amazing soundtrack, and I pulled a song from that fit. So it was just kind of creating. We talked about creating an atmosphere. That's what I'm about. My table or my tables, my mods, whatever you want to call them. It's all about atmosphere. It's all about the vibe for me. Like that's what I pay attention to when I play. That's what I get sucked into a world, and the music and the visuals and the lighting is what makes that happen for me, much more than the gameplay, personally.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a big part of it. We were talking about these worlds under the glass, and if you can make something where if I close my eyes and I can play pinball with let's say I play with my eyes closed, but I can hear the whole world coming to life, that is such a kudos or feather in your cap, because if you can do that and transport somebody to a world without even having them look at it,
thank you.
You're doing exactly what you're hoping to accomplish, I feel like.
I appreciate that. It's like Tiki, when you boot up Tiki and you just hear kind of like the ocean and kind of jungle birds kind of relaxing, like before you start the game, like that kind of stuff I love.
Yeah, I think if you're involved in audio your whole life or in the music scene, whatever it is, the biggest part about all of this, hey, thank you for that follow, Dispensary Stoner Lulz. I like your username.
Love your name.
Yeah.
Wink, wink.
You're a true pinball. Thank you for joining. But I think it's such a culmination of all the hard work that you do, and it's just cool. Like, I don't know, people are like, oh, how are you in the hobby, what do you do? Well, guess what, I'm a lawyer. It's fucking boring sometimes, okay? and when I can come home and I can see these worlds under glass and sort of escape to this through this hobby and get to see someone's take, especially through an alternative imagination, alternative recreation of an original table or a soundtrack, it's awesome to me. So is there anything about this package that you made that you were really proud of, or just is there one specific call out or a music track or something?
Honest, whodunit? Are we talking about whodunit or?
Yes, whodunit.
Yeah. I honestly haven't heard it in a very long time.
That's okay. If I put you on the spot and you don't have an answer, that's okay.
But I know what the intention was. It was totally, when the multi-ball happens, I want some chaos. When the mystery happens, I want it to sound like mysterious, like not mysterious, but like classic mystery, you know. And then kind of like on the other stuff, just kind of be kind of vibey and cool, kind of like that classic muted trumpet, real noiry vibe. I mean, that is what creates the atmosphere. If I could have fucking hooked up a DOS smoke machine to make it like smoky in the room, I would do it. You know what I mean? Like that's how far. Like you talk about the fan on Whirlwind, that's what they need. They need a fucking smoke machine for whodunit.
Isn't there a DOF? Oh man, someone's got to know this. Isn't there a DOF link on the tool, the config tool for a fog machine? I swear there's got to be one.
There should be. If there's not, and if there is, that's amazing.
That's a great idea, actually. Have you ever taken? So where was this made in your VPin career? Earlier, like one of your first ones?
One of the first ones.
Okay.
This was probably one of the first ones where I transitioned from just doing straight conversions of pin sound to trying to do my own thing.
Gotcha. And that's actually, you know what, that comes full circle because we were talking about you started on just straight conversions and now you're making your own. So do you ever go back to any of your older files and say, you know what, maybe I want to do this now? Or are you just, when you finish it, you're finished?
Just recently I've started, like, I didn't really feel like I had a catalog to go back to so much to say as I was just kind of still kind of coming up with new fun things that I want to do because I have a list. I don't know if any of them are good ideas. I'll read you the list. Maybe you could tell me.
Yeah, go ahead.
But I was recently thinking about, oddly enough, the two last ones we did, Tiki and Whodunit. Because one was Whodunit, as I haven't revisited it in a long time, and I know that I did it early on, and I know that, and I guess I'll do this caveat. I hate to like go on a tangent, but I know some guys have done alt sounds and had issues with being able to have them trigger maybe the way they want to. I know I have, just because Toxie is still developing for it, I believe, because I've reached out to him a few times and he's fixed some things as a developer that I could never imagine doing to try to make them work a little bit better. So a lot of how mine get to sound complete or maybe solid is that it's in the editing of the files themselves. You have to manipulate the files in the sound editor, outside, you know, like Pro Tools or a different third-party whatever program, and see how the game is triggering those files, and then manipulate the audio almost as a workaround. So I just want to make that point. Is like that's really important. If you're trying to make these, you cannot just change a bunch of files and expect it to sound good. Like the files will play and stuff, but it's not gonna be a cohesive, complete thought. Like people are gonna notice it while they're playing. Like, oh, that might not be right. You know, I don't want that to happen at all in my stuff. Like it needs to be part of the table. So I just say that because it does take a little bit of extra manipulation sometimes. So just be aware of that, and you know, maybe be cautious of that when you're making them. That's all.
So it's
that. I'd like to go back to Whodunit and Tiki to update it with the most recent physics and it has N-Fozzy, but there's a lot of new updates to N-Fozzy that have come out since that table, and then Whodunit just because I haven't visited it in a long time and might be able to make it a little bit better than it was.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the physics on Tiki when we were playing it. It felt like N-Fozzy, but it felt sort of
it's early N-Fozzy.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
because I know I'm used to N-Fozzy and JP Salas physics because those are generally the tables, or and sometimes whatever. Yeah, it sort of felt like a hybrid of that, but
yeah, I think it's because it's what it probably actually is a cross between JP's old physics and early N-Fozzy.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Because originally it was obviously JP's Physics. It's his table. Cheetah was his table. And then in Fozzie, that might have been the first time Apophis put Fozzie on a table too, if I remember correctly. Not that he did it wrong or anything. It was just early in Fozzie. So I'm sure it's grown a lot since that time.
Yeah, I think an update, it's so relaxing. An update of Tiki would be, if you want my personal opinion, update of Tiki would be great. But an update of this, Who Done It 1947, I would love if this pin got more exposure for Board and yourself, because it's so perfect as far as a retheme, if you want to call it that.
It's definitely a retheme.
Yeah, because the noir theme fits so well with the original purpose of the table.
Yeah, and let's be honest, the graphics on the original Who Done It for a noir table make zero fucking sense.
Yeah,
it's like orange.
Yeah,
it's like you know what colors.
The color palette reminds me of my Avengers Infinity Quest, and I'm like, okay, well, it's not a superhero table, like, you know.
I mean, it made zero sense. It's almost ugly, honestly. And like, you look at this and what Board did with it, and you're like, that's the opposite of ugly. That is,
it's
gorgeous.
So funny. It's so funny.
Now I can see.
You say that, and then on the DMD, it said artwork by Linda Deal, and I'm like, no, we're shitting on Linda Deal's artwork.
No, well, there I go again.
But
there I go again. I'm sure Linda did great work. Hey, it's a personal preference.
Yeah, it is personal preference. But there are some black and white mods, not even just noir mods that S1 Gibson does, for Attack from Mars, Twilight Zone.
He did good work. He came into the workshop, and that's what I love about hanging at the workshop is that there's the core workshop guys, but a lot of people flow through there, man. You learn a lot of stuff. Projects come through. You get to talk to people, learn some new stuff. You get to see what people are working on. It's just a really cool vibe.
Yeah.
And he was kind of doing them on his own. And VPW were like, this guy's doing some good stuff. Let's kind of invite him and see if we can, bring his projects here. And they did.
Yeah, and that they're really well done. It's so well done that, and here's a quick example of how people are enjoying your work. When people create separate wheels for just your mod, like the Attack from Mars, there's a separate black and white wheel. And
absolutely,
shout out to Pritch33 for making a ton of those.
Really shout out to all the guys that do all of the, I don't want to call it auxiliary. What would you call it? Like the wheels and the TFD, full screen Ps, and the da-da-da, like that. All that stuff is what fills out all of these projects.
It makes it a whole experience.
Super awesome to do that.
Yeah, it makes it a full experience. And I was trying to think of the word. I didn't want to say, oh, shout out to all the guys for all the little stuff. It's not little stuff. It takes a long time. And those full DMDs.
Well, especially because they do 50 of them. You know what I mean? Like, they're not just doing one.
Yeah, exactly. But big shout out to guys like Pritch, Nesta, also Daytona 24, Andrew Walsh does a ton.
All the guys. I mean, Walsh, the amount of work that he did.
Oh my God.
He did. He was like, oh, we're going to do full DMDs. Oh, then we're going to do full DMD, lower DMD. Now I want to do pup style DMD. He really redid all of the work 3 or 4 times. Like, dude's a beast.
Yeah. Thank you, Rain City Pinball. You guys are super awesome. I truly appreciate you coming by and giving this channel a raid. Thank you for the follow, sell processing. You guys are super cool. Rain City Pinball, a couple of my good friends on the pinball channel. They've got some cool pinball streams. They're just starting up again, so please give them a follow and check them out. They've got a really great lineup of pins. Second place, Andy, what's up? But thank you guys for... Hello again. They were here earlier as I was jamming out and getting ready for tonight's interview. Thank you guys for coming back. But as I was going to say... where was I? Shoot, we were talking about wheels, and then, man, I had a really good question I wanted to ask you, and I already lost my
I'm sorry.
No, it's not your fault. It's the raid music. It always gets me. But no, you're totally good. We were talking about wheels and other creators and who done it, and I was
And
going
Terry
to.
said you can do fog machines with DOF, so it's
Oh,
official.
perfect. But thank you, Cell Processing, for the follow. That's okay. I'll come back to the question. It was actually really related to it. Shit, I'm gonna be pissed at myself. All right. Anyways, next up, as we talk about the film noir stuff and revisiting old themes.
Oh, I made sure. I don't know if I mentioned Bored on Led Zeppelin. I want to make sure to do that because
Yes.
that was the first time I ever worked with Bored, and like the reason that table is gorgeous is because of him. So I just want to make sure that he got credit for that.
Board is super awesome. When we talked to him, it was just so cool to pick his brain about the people that have helped him and how he comes up with his ideas. I think throughout these interviews, we're hoping to convey that not only just to celebrate you guys and gals, but also to show that there is a real intricate process that happens sometimes. And it's not just, let me get an asset, let me scan it, let me put it together, and let me create. It's kind of like when a lot of those music clone tables came out. Some were cool, and it's nice to have those simple experiences. It doesn't always have to be a complicated table. If I want to throw on the Foo Fighters table, it's because I want to hear My Hero or Everlong.
Sure. And
just
whack a
play
ball
it.
around.
Yeah, and just it doesn't always have to be this intricate and complex thing, but when it does come together, and it's something as in your face, like a retheme of Cheetah to Tiki Bob's. That's what's really cool. And because those experiences, they don't have to always have modes or anything like that, but they have these really cool cohesive packages, and they're just awesome.
I think you're hitting on the key. Is like it just is about how much love is put into it. Like you can see that on the table, or you can feel that when you play it. Like stuff that's just kind of churned out, or stuff that's like has all the details and well thought out, and has the makes you laugh. Like I love tables that have stuff you'll hit something and it makes you laugh. I mean, part of The Simpsons, I loved doing that because and credit to on especially on the Simpsons, Monster Bash, some of these other ones, for the guys who did the pin sounds, because what a great resource.
Oh my God, those
sounds.
The pin sounds were such a unexpected discovery for me, and I'm glad you brought them up tonight, because when I look at some of the physical stuff that I've played, the experience is just magnified so much more when you have this great collection of audio or music just adding to this original soundtrack, and it's so cool. I know what I wanted to ask you. It was about pup packs.
Yeah.
You don't have to answer whether you like them or not. I just want to know,
I use a lot of them.
How do you work around them if they have? So the Simpsons Pinball Party, which we're going to play next, is a great example.
That's a great question.
Because it's got an amazing pup pack by Hawkeyes.
It does.
And when we interviewed Hawkeyes, I wanted him to know how well done it was, because there was a moment on my stream when the intro that was sort of Miami Vice came up on the Simpsons intro. And I just had this grin, because that was a moment I remember watching when it first came out. Yeah. And so I always wonder, how do you manage again, it's always about options, but how do you manage working around or working with somebody that's doing a pup pack versus an alt set when you do an alt set?
Because there's all different versions, right? Like there's alt sounds that are created specifically to go with the pup pack. The pup pack creator usually does it, and they'll use the alt sound to strip out the sounds that they want the pup pack to play. And that's actually a great method for having both work together. So because it gives you that control, you can't do that with a ROM. But if you have an alt sound, you can do whatever you want. You can just take the call outs, or you can just take the music out, or whatever, and then have it work cohesively with the pup pack. Now, obviously, that's kind of only really happens when it's planned ahead of time like that, right? So you'd have the creator of the pup pack, they do their pup pack, and then they usually, sometimes they've asked me, or they've done it themselves, where they'll just make an alt sound and take those things out. When I do alt sounds, I usually don't take the pup pack into consideration unless it's specifically for that.
Okay.
Because it limits me on my creativity, on what I can do with the alt sound. And I don't want that, because I want to be able to do what I want with the alt sound, because that's why I'm making the alt sound in the first place. So when that happens, the pup pack will typically clash with the alt sound. Not for any other reason, is that the pup pack was made as its own project and the alt sound was made as its own project. You know, they weren't designed to both be played at the same time. So what I've done and what I typically do is, because I love the video clips, especially on the Simpsons one. There's a few other ones that I just have to have. I have a lot of pup packs on my table, obviously, but what I've done personally is I've gone in and I've edited the pup pack to fit my alt sound.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's because that's the way I want it personally. But what I would just say is, if you're in, you can do that yourself too. I mean, it's some extra work, but if you're really enjoying both, you would put in that effort to make that happen. Now, I think that at some point we've toyed with the idea of going back on Simpsons and kind of trying to make them work together, just because I feel like both are really awesome on their own.
Yeah.
So it would be fun to have a one complete thing for that project. But yeah, for the most time, me personally, a recipe that works for me, and maybe it'll work for you, is I leave the ball drains for the pup pack. I leave the audio for the ball drains. I usually will leave the audio, depending, maybe end of game. And stuff where it doesn't interfere, I leave the audio on the pup pack. And the rest, I leave all the videos, I just mute them.
Okay, I gotcha. That makes sense. And
that
I think
that works pretty well, honestly, for me. You get all the great videos from that. And again, like if there's long clips where it does scenes from the movie, and the alt sound doesn't conflicts, I may take that alt sound part out. Yeah. It's a case-by-case basis. It's the only way I can tell you, because it's going to play different every time, and it's going to do different things every time. So I guess if you love both, you find a way to make them work together. And if you love one or the other, for that table, use that one.
And that makes so much sense. I think it's all about that personalization that we keep knocking home to people tonight as the theme of this interview. And I remember seeing you talking with Hawkeyes. I think it was in a public forum, in Discord or Facebook somewhere, about, working together to see if something could be commingled, because on their own, as they stand, the alt sound package, top notch, chef's kiss. On the pup pack on its own, amazing work. Just
amazing.
One of the best pup packs that I have seen. So it's one of those things where, okay, maybe I'm in a mood to use an alt sound package tonight, disable the pup pack by just renaming the pup videos folder. And then and that's what we did for tonight's interview. So I'm going to load it up, because I want to segue into Simpsons.
And again, that goes back to more playability. Yeah. Because you can mix it up. It stays fresh.
Yeah, so you'll see, again, we were talking about Andrew Walsh, those full DMD conversions, awesome. So my DMD is a little smaller because it's the full DMD conversion of the pup pack. But this is one of iDigStuff's, as project lead and VPW, the whole team, everybody. This is one of their latest creations. Obviously, Diner just came out. Shout out to them for Diner, because that's one of my top five pinball machines of all time. But this one, I just played this at the Route 66 Tilt Championship in Tulsa, Oklahoma for 4 days. Shout out to Hanger Pinball for a great tournament. But this one was on the lineup, and it played so well. And it just reminded me of this version, because it is kind of one of those things with the real pinball machine. You're going to get nicks and bruises when it's on route. Tons of people are playing it. Things stop working. But it played well, just like the virtual version. So we're going to load this up. We're going to play it. I'll start it, and then we'll talk to you about it. If you want to go ahead and give a brief history on how it came to fruition, we can go from there.
Well, this one was one that I just kind of always enjoyed, the original VPX version. which was 32, Assassin's Table.
Yes.
And he's kind of stepped away from the hobby. Some people know why, others don't. If you don't, go to VPF and read the forums. But 32 stepped away for a while, and this table I've always really enjoyed. And so my plan was to just upgrade it with the latest Fozzy and Fleep sounds. I thought it deserved that, and so I took it into VP Workshop. They let me bring it into what they have a light section, which is basically you just bring tables in that just for physics and sound upgrades. And I brought it in that, and it kind of one thing led to another. Then it was like, oh well, I'll do the inserts, and oh well, you know, let's add the new lamps code because it makes the inserts flash way cooler and more realistically. And then the big boys came on board, the 6-toe and the Ayaki, Apophis, and all those guys. Tamate, I reached out to do the 3D. He did the upper right Duff beer can. I think he might have. The Homer head was redone, I think. I'm not sure who did that, but his table was a mess once we got into it. Just because 32's work was great, don't get me wrong, but I guess some of the dimensions of the original table weren't quite right, and the upper playfield needed some work for playability and stuff. And those guys did all that. They did the heavy lifting on this. Again, I was just kind of the producer, being a cheerleader on this one. I mean, I did a lot of the groundwork, I'm not gonna lie, but they took it and really made it into this beautiful table that we see here.
I love, maybe they heard it on stream, maybe they didn't, but there's a call out right now. I think you added it. I don't know about the original table too much, but it was just Mo going, I'm looking for Amanda hug and kiss. Amanda.
Yeah, I added all those. I love the prank phone calls.
Oh, that's so good.
So every time you go up Mo's ramp, you get a different prank phone call.
That's perfect.
Yeah. This was fun because I love The Simpsons, and I just had so much flexibility. And, again, I want to make sure to give credit to the original Pin Sound author, who did a lot of the groundwork on collecting sounds. I did a fair amount of my own, but starting with that and being able to have all those sounds to work off of is amazing. And one of the things I love about this table is the end sequence. When you finish the game, there's about 30 different songs that could play at the end.
Oh,
and you can play this table all day and not hear the same thing twice.
That's so cool. I know when people are starting, making pup packs or old sounds, they might just think, okay, I'm just going to add a couple things here. But I'm telling you, the more you add, because when you're playing, and you're playing for, players play for like an hour or so. No, I don't think most people are just dropping in 10 minutes. If you can get to the point where it's not repeating itself after an hour or, maybe a little less, that's really well taken because, man, it's so cool hearing something different every time. I just heard Mo say, I'm looking for a leaky bum, and it's just so funny.
They make me laugh. I love that. I just tried to make it as funny as possible, depending on what was going on in the game. Those flashers are solid.
Yeah, it's cool. Apophis said it's flashing weird, so I'm not. Maybe it's the whole table was flashing yellow.
It is flashing weird, like the yellow that's flash. Yeah. I don't know what. That's kind of weird. When the whole table turns yellow and flashes, that's not.
I will say I have a notorious reputation for breaking things on stream. So if you bring me your table, I will break it. But I enjoy that because hopefully
everything else looks right. It was just that yellow flashing is like, what's that about?
Yeah, but I'm happy to break your stuff.
Appreciate it.
Then it allows you guys to make some patches. It's so funny. Sometimes some things get released. And I'm like, hey, wait a minute, what's going on with this? But I love the beer can mod. We were talking about that earlier. So cool.
I should have put that in the script as an option. I got in trouble for that, kind of, but whatevs.
Whatevs, exactly. That's a good attitude to take. What was probably the hardest part about this, getting this to the finish line? Was it just the time crunch that you?
Well, it was without. It was an accidental time crunch. I didn't know going in that, I didn't really understand the scope of what, like on my scope, 10 days was totally doable because I don't have the skills to do the level of work that these guys wanted to do to it. So I was like, yeah, 10 days, that's cool, man, whatever. And then like when they're like, bro, I had to pull an all-nighter, I'm like, no, you didn't though, but I appreciate it. like you're giving way too much credence to my arbitrary deadline, but I mad props and appreciation for it for sure.
Oh, that's too funny. Oh man, that's
in a way it turned out to be good because I think it was good to have that deadline, and you know, I take away from it that it's not how I would do things going forward in the future. It's definitely not the best way to do things, but some good things came out of having that deadline. A great table on a big holiday release, a bunch of guys coming together and really just kicking ass for 10 days straight. So, I mean, for that, I'm super thankful, and I think, you know, I'm super proud of what the end product was.
I mean, you should be, and especially, I get wanting to push it for like a holiday release because you have more people at home, more eyes will see it, and then you'll be
It was a Monday, everybody's off. I mean, no one's at home playing pinball on Memorial Day, but, you know, when you come home drunk that night, maybe you want to play some Sims.
Exactly. You kind of have this ready to go, and it's crazy because as new stuff gets released by VPW, all the other creators out there, JP Salas, S1 Gibson, not even, sorry, I don't mean to say it like that, Balutito, Uncle Paulie, Rod with his VR rooms. Like, it's one of those things when you're starting to look at these things come out, we have so much content to be able to consume that it's great if, you know, when these big releases happen, the whole community just goes in a big uproar. They're like, oh fuck yes, let's go, let's fucking go. Simpsons is here. It's cool, and I love that part of it because it makes everybody happy. You know, the world's shitty enough. Let's have something good for us.
Exactly. I mean, this is all escapism, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it is totally.
When you cut it down to, I mean, that's what we're doing here. That's like, let's not be, you know, there's nothing to be ashamed of that. Like, everybody needs that in their life to a certain degree.
Yeah. Do you have you noticed your skills getting better at pinball as you start playing more?
No.
No.
I'm fucking horrible. I'm the worst pinball player you will ever meet.
What is the thing you think you need to work on? Nudging or just eye-hand coordination?
Nudging? What's that? Is that a thing? I just hit the buttons. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, no, I don't know. I'll play okay, but it's like mostly it's that I like building them and working on them more than playing them.
Gotcha.
You know?
I get it.
It goes back to the creative part. I like the creative part of it more than the playing part of it.
Gotcha. Are you playing, if you're playing, are you just flipping because you're hopefully going to see like a story mode finish, or are you playing for points?
I'm like the whose line is it anyway, where the points are just for fun and nothing matters.
There you go. I love it. That's a good approach.
I have no aspirations of playing on any public billboard, poster score league. I have no aspirations of any of that stuff. I get it. I totally understand it, and I think it does add a lot to the hobby and to playing. Like, to have some like things you're trying to specifically do, right? Obviously, that makes it a lot more fun. Whacking a ball around gets boring real fast. You know, it's only good for so long. So I like to learn the table so that I can enjoy the table. But I'll be honest, like, I have a ton of tables like that still have the fucking
the stock
automatic score.
Yeah, the stock high scores.
The what?
The stock high scores.
I can't beat the fucking stock high score, bro. And it pisses me off bad. I'm gonna be real honest.
You see like the stock
Not
high. Not
all the tables. I'm you know, being funny a little bit here, but I'm not lying either though.
Yeah. Like the stock high score of like it's just Rick's name all over.
Like, the only thing that matters around here is that I score higher than my wife.
Yeah. That's awesome. I want to ask you about that.
She's a good player. She's like full on Tommy or Pinball Wizard though.
Yeah.
She like, I've got these next to the pinball table.
Oh my God, look at those. That's
She's
funny.
straight up fucking pinball wizard, bro.
That's amazing.
Doesn't want to hear any music. Doesn't want any sounds. She just wants to see the ball and hit the flippers.
She's
got to
be
good.
She's got to be in the zone. She's
pretty good at it.
Shout out to Wilt for the Who's Tommy, by the way. Another awesome VPW recreation. That one is fucking great.
For sure.
I was gonna ask you about that jukebox in the back. When did you get
Sure.
that?
That is my baby, my Rhapsody 160 Rockola. It was like a thing where like this, I saw it and I was like, I really, really want one. Is that something that can happen? And I found a guy that like in Iowa or something, you know what I mean? And he had a great price on it. And it was just about getting it here. So I've found this great service, and I'd plug it if I remember the name, but I don't remember anything. But basically the gist is that it's people with their own trailers and stuff that haul stuff.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of like a group sourced shipping company. So like you go on this website and the people will show like, I'm driving from Michigan out to Sacramento, and along the way I'm going through these places. And then you find people that are already going through those places, and if they have room on their trailer, it's basically like you're dealing with them directly to ship your stuff. And so I had a guy, and he went to the dude's house, loaded it on his trailer, and brought it to my house in Burbank, helped me get it inside and everything for a great price, and couldn't really resist that. I love it. It's fully functional. I say that, but it needs a new needle right now, but besides that, it's fully functional.
I was gonna say play some tunes, but
I know, I would. I'd be like, but my favorite thing about it is the front window, where you can fully see all the mechanics going and stuff. That's really what
I love the lighting on it, the green and orange. So cool, man.
That's
so
custom.
cool.
I did that. That's gels I put around an old fluorescent bulb inside there. Again, lighting, water, and sound. Those are my things, man. I love those things. All of them.
You said you're not into superheroes. However, we also have something you've made, a very underrated table in my opinion, and it's called the Shadow. And
oh yeah.
What did you do for the Shadow? Tell everybody.
Well, the Shadow is cool because it's a superhero, but it's a cool superhero in the noir, right? So the noir came back into play there, and it's not like your typical like spandex superhero, you know what I mean? So that one I enjoyed, and that one was largely conversion.
Okay.
There is a great pin sound for that one, and that was where he basically took the vibes of the Mongolian gongs and that kind of Tibetan kind of vibes that are like threaded through the Shadow. So definitely wanted to draw on that. Definitely did my own sound effects for that one. So like when you go through the secret passage, you feel that it's before it was like, now it's like you feel that big heavy brick door sliding away, or concrete door sliding away. It has some depth. So I just wanted to kind of modernize it in a way that was like again true to the original, not trying to reinvent the wheel, enhancing, not replacing, but using all that cool Mongolian Tibetan gongs and bells and vibes. And I got a lot of the call outs was you're able to get from the movie and stuff. So that again, those is it IP? Whatever. The ones that are based on real properties are easier, I find. So if you're trying to do one, that's a smart thing to do because the resources are easier to gather.
I think that's a great a note for new creators. It might be easier to start instead of with something original, unless your original idea has assets out there. Start with something that you can sort of grab some assets easily, and that way, when you do that, you're not racking your brain about the artwork portion, or at least as much as you would, and then go from there. I was going to ask you, oh my god, I got destroyed right there.
You might be playing older version of the table. It looks like.
I think so. Yeah, I was looking for the newer version, and I should have asked you beforehand.
Okay.
I'm definitely.
If you can find the newer one, find it because it's gorgeous compared to
Yeah,
this.
I think I have an older version.
And I'm not talking crap. It's just newer.
Yes, yeah. Just, I wanted to ask you. I actually talked to an audio engineer this last weekend, ironically, and he was telling me how he would go to like the woods and create, grab like sticks and break them, but he would then sort of layer those sounds with other sounds that he's created to create a substitute for a real sound. So like a cymbal or something, and he would take sounds that he created, layer them up, and make a substitute. Is that something that you've ever done in your either career or just sort of in this hobby?
Yes, I mean, I've done it in my career a lot because it's basically the basis for all sound design. So like my regular job is, here, like the guy here. Do this. But we didn't use it. Like this guy, man. Right?
There it is.
Can I hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
all about sound. So normally we were a big harness and pack, new production sound. So it's all about being mobile. Everything runs on battery. So it's all about going to places you can't take a traditional rig or microphone or that. You're basically a walking recording studio. So what they do is the ambisonics. Ambisonics are special microphones that basically recreate how humans hear. It's like a microphone with two ears. It's not really, but the way to describe it is that it's 360 audio. And so that is now becoming a new way to kind of record ambience and to build sound effects. And when you're talking about layering, the beautiful thing about manipulating audio is the same as if you manipulated a visual picture, right? It's a green picture, you made it red or whatever. You can do the same with audio in that layering, sometimes making it worse sounding and then rebuilding it and layering it and stacking. The other day, I watched a process where a guy took a handful of coins and dropped the coins on the table, recorded it, then you dump that into a software program. And the beautiful thing about when it's in the software program, it's a linear file, right? So then you can take just a little bit and loop it, or this little bit and loop it, so that until you start to hear something musical happening, like a beat, right? Like boomsh, boomsh. So you loop that, you time it, and all of a sudden you have boomsh, boomsh, right? Or whatever. You layer that with some other sounds, manipulate it. It's not coins anymore. Now it's a completely original beat with a sound you've never heard. And all of it is based on just getting some sound into the can that you can then manipulate into something cool. Sometimes it doesn't even matter what that sound is. It could be, like I said, coins dropping or, flushing a toilet. I kid you not. Like, all you need is that raw audio, and then you can manipulate it and make something really cool. A great thing that I always do is, like, when I compose music, I have a studio in the back, is reverse cymbals to build tension, right? So if you're going from one section of a song to another song, like if you're just playing da 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 and then all of a sudden it goes boop boop, it's not going to make sense. You got to have, this is a great example. You have to have, it has to arc through, right? So sounds like reverse cymbals and stuff will do that, where it's like building up instead of a crash that decays, so to speak. So reversing stuff, manipulating stuff, it's all, that's some of the most fun of being an audio engineer, honestly.
I love it. I love hearing this sort of information coming from somebody that's done it. This is sort of the cool behind the scenes of everybody's like, oh, when like, it's like when my kids, my oldest will say, what do you do for work? Well, I could explain it to you, but you know, it's going to be hard. I need to explain it to you like you're 6, which you are. So hearing you explain it to me like that, and not because I'm 6, because you're trying to get
like you 6. I'm sorry if I did that.
Twitch, please don't ban me. But because it's just so cool to hear, and I really do thank you for these type of tidbits and stories. They're really awesome.
I just like talking all things audio and pinball and sharing with this great community that we have. It's like, honestly, it's kind of been like a big bright spot for the most part. And, you know, over the last few years with everything going on in the world, meeting all the people in our groups and chatting and sharing ideas. And I mean, even in, you know, the Discords are great. The VP workshop, the VPC, is that what it's called? VPC?
Yeah,
Pinball
VPC.
chat. Great. Amazing resources to meet people, and you know, people go on there, they're posting their vacations and stuff. It's not just like, you get to know people, you know. It's awesome.
Do you get people hitting you up for like advice on Facebook and Discord about approaching the audio portions or making a table?
Rarely.
Okay.
Perfectly honest, I don't get reached out to much for anything. I do a lot of reaching out myself though. But that's just what it is, you know. Like I'd be happy to help someone, you know, especially people just getting started, because that's, you know, where I come from. I had no background.
Yeah.
I tend to reach out to people that are more advanced than myself because I'm trying to grow, right? So, and everyone has been extremely friendly and helpful. And if you just do it in a way where you're not, hey man, make this for me. You know what I mean? Like, nobody wants to hear that shit.
Yeah, exactly. I think when it comes from a genuine place of, look, I'm really stuck on this, or how did you get your start? I think that's why people like Apophis, the VPW guys, Oxen, just everybody like
Oxen's another great guy. That guy was a workhorse. And that's the thing, is they don't care if you know how to do it. They want, and this is I'm projecting here, but they want to know that you're actually trying to do it. Yeah. You're not just looking for a free lunch. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Hey,
like,
man,
that's all they care about. Like, if they tell you some stuff, you're going to take that knowledge and fucking apply it. You're not going to just be like, oh, okay, but then could you do that? You know what I mean? Like, that's not going to fly. So as long as you're trying, that's really a low bar. That is the only thing you have to do is try, and people will help you.
Yeah, if they're giving you steps 1, 2, and 3, please try step 4 before they like.
I mean, I have had some people reach out where just like, oh, could you do that? And I'm just like, oh, I'll give you all the tools to do it. I'm not going to do it for you, and then they immediately lose interest. Well, it's like, well, guess you didn't want it that bad.
Yeah, it's crazy to think again how many hours are put in, and they don't, and people that are starting this, and you know, maybe they have the best of intentions, but if you're intimidated by the amount of time and work that it's going to be to actually get your vision complete, you're not going to make a good product, because you may stop halfway and say, you know what, it's not for me, and that's fine. That's okay. Exactly. It's not going to be for everybody, but you have to realize there is a ton that goes along with this. And again, we do this.
It does seem like it's easy from the outside. I can tell you that it's definitely not easy, but it's not hard if you just do it one step at a time.
Yeah, and it's going to take a while. Just get it through your head. If you're going to create something, it's going to take a while. My plan was to start a weekly thing where I would start building this table we were talking about, and just going through the process myself so people could see, look, I know nothing about coding. I know nothing about art assets. Yeah. It's not my world. Music, I'm a little more inclined to have some knowledge about just from my time on the radio and all that. But at the same time, it's going to be years probably before something that I can think of comes to fruition. And that's okay, because once you get through all of that, then you have the knowledge to start doing these bigger projects and maybe getting help from other creators.
Well, and you know, I would suggest, I mean, I'm not, you know, telling you don't dive into an original, but a good way to do it is to help on others, or do certain, you know, work on other projects where you do one aspect of it on a bigger project where a lot of people are working on it, or stuff that you can, I guess what I'm trying to get at is like, you get a better product, and if you spend time kind of honing all of your skills first, because then you can apply those skills to your own project. I don't want to call out Apophis. I know he's been wanting to do his own table for a really long time, but he's so busy helping everybody else on their projects. But I think that's going to work out for him better in the long run, because he's so knowledgeable now compared to when we met. I mean, I don't want to say he wasn't knowledgeable. I'm sure he was plenty knowledgeable, but I just
when he was dumb.
See what he's doing now and what the level he's on. And I'm just thinking, like, when he does his original table, it's going to be so much better now.
Yeah.
Because of what he's learned. You know what I mean?
Yeah. All the knowledge and all the skills and all the mistakes and roadblocks that you go through in helping other people make their stuff. It's like with Astro Nicey, we're not gonna call Astro Nasty. Jason, he's making his Die Hard table, all the stuff, the artwork that the work that he did on Lord of the Rings, let's say, making all the original stuff. It's going to help now that he's making his own original table.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because tentatively I am doing the sound for that.
Yes, he actually mentioned that to me, and I was cracking up, because I'm like, well, this is perfect timing then, because that you need someone good on audio, because if you're gonna do Die Hard justice, you need to get the fucking audio right.
Yeah, I can't take too much credit yet, because I haven't done a damn thing for it yet, besides collect some assets. But the plan is to try and assist with that.
Nice. That's awesome. Well, you heard it here. iDigStuff is guaranteed. No, just kidding.
Right, exactly.
But as we talk about our own projects and stuff that we worked on, or that you worked on, I did. I think the one thing I've contributed was the sloth doff code on Goonies. But it's one thing. But I want to get to the last table that we're going to talk about, because I think it's very underrated, and I think your work on it is underrated. It's one of those tables that I think when people play, they're like, oh, well, what is there to do on this? But it's just a fun time, and it's a good callback to a great existing IP that people know and love, Bugs Bunny.
I wonder where you're going.
Yes,
yeah. I think a lot of people hate that table for some reason. I don't know. I don't mind it so much. And again, I think it comes to me. I'm a theme guy.
Yes.
Right. So
yes.
the gameplay on that table, it doesn't bother me when I don't think, oh, this is shitty gameplay. Like, that doesn't bother me. Like, I just enjoy it, Yeah. But it was more about the theme, and who doesn't fucking love Looney?
What happened to my table? Oh no. You take a look at it on the stream in a second. It's very white. Hold on one second.
Oh.
I think I didn't.
That looks like what happens when you open it in a different version of VPX.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy, because it just opened before the stream and I didn't save anything different. So give me a second, folks. I have another version. I'm gonna go ahead and.
It is Saturday morning on a table. I just saw that. That's perfect. Example of what it is. And that's a table. Again, I would call that. I know I make up my own categorization, but that's what I call a remaster, because it's based on a real property. I was able to replace all of the callouts, but keep the original callout, meaning it's the same callout. It's just I pulled it from the actual cartoon, so it's a much higher quality, better version of that callout. But because it was based on the real IP, I got to watch a bunch of Saturday morning cartoons and cut clips, which I love cutting clips and watching and just pulling clips. Like, I love doing that. So that falls right into it. So I was able to replace almost all of the sounds on this with real clips from Looney Tunes. Music, sound effects, and dialogue.
So, is there a hold on, where am I looking here? Is there something as far as the quality, making it high quality, or what are you looking to do when?
Just basically pulling the clip from the movie. If you have a good, version of it, is always going to be a higher quality clip than anything built into the ROM. For one, I'd use for mine. ROMs are going to be mono, a lot of them for the specifically for the table sounds. But we're not tied to that with alt sounds. I can do big stereo sounds and music sounds full and awesome. So we're not tied to like having to fit everything onto a tiny ROM or into a existing space. So I think it offers a lot of advantages in that aspect.
Has space ever been an issue for you when creating either?
No, I really don't look at how big the projects are as I'm doing them. I probably should more, but I don't. I go about, like at the end, if I can go back and convert the files and somehow make it a smaller project or something, I will. But when I'm making it, there's no consideration for file size. I'm making what I want and worry about the rest later.
Gotcha. Okay. I didn't know if there was any compression issues or.
There you go.
There we go. We got it going. Just I don't know. I must have clicked an old version or something. But yeah. So this one also has a pup pack, but I think it's really cool to keep the alt sounds on with the original B2S because I think the pup pack is amazing because it's got a lot of those clips of the show that we loved as kids. I mean, Bugs Bunny and Looney Tunes in general is just such a cool IP, especially like when Tiny Toons was on. I used to watch that a lot. It's just I
love my favorite thing is when it goes. If it's surrounded, it'll go through the inlane and the road runner goes beep beep.
Yeah.
Little thing.
Do you ever put any sort of secret Easter eggs in some of your work, or are you like?
That's a good question. I will now. No, not especially. I guess not really Easter eggs, but just small details that I like that maybe not everybody notices or even cares to notice, but I like it, and that's on Tiki, the little iDig electronics.
Yeah,
that would be the closest thing I think to an Easter egg that you called out earlier.
Cool. I mean, I like the star when we're looking at it. Again, to Tiki, the stars, the little thing on the apron. Those are the sort of things. When you notice them, you're like, oh man, this really is the full package, and you put a lot of work in it. So Bugs was really inspired by my love of Looney Tunes and Saturday morning cartoons, of course, but also the original sound on it was atrocious. Yes.
So that's really why I did this table. It wasn't like I love the Bugs Bunny table. Like I try to put the community first in a lot of ways. Where I do projects that I wouldn't necessarily pick to do first, but they just need it, So I think I tried to. That's my public service for our community in that aspect. Try to do, and this was a table that had absolutely horrible sound. So I think using the alt sound on this, it becomes that Saturday morning cartoon that you want it to be.
I think I completely agree. It's like they said in chat, it's Saturday morning on a table. It's really like. I know if they did a new modern one with all the old existing footage, it would do gangbusters because the demographic for pinball players is older men, as you can tell by myself. But
you mean Stern obviously knows that?
Yeah, I know with Rush.
Yeah.
You just take a look at their music pins, and there's nothing wrong with these music pins.
Nothing after 1980.
Yeah, exactly. But that's freaking perfect. Exactly what it is. But yeah, this one, Saxo Gaming. Yeah, this is a virtual table, and this is one of the most beautiful ones. Whenever I talk about my intro into virtual pinball, this is actually one of the first ones I played, and I was stunned at how good it looked on my freaking old laptop. I was like, this
table is old and it looks great.
Yeah, it is. It reminds me of what Flupper did to Whirlwind. Just a beautiful table. And I remember, thankfully, G5K has re-uploaded his creations too, because his were phenomenal as well. So Terry has a question. Do you use any 5.1 masters from a Blu-ray and separate center or voice channels?
I love that.
Yes, thank you, Terry.
No, I have not actually. I pull most of my clips from the internet, honestly, but that is a great idea. I hadn't thought of that, and I've actually mixed 5.1 before, but I did not think of that for this. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, that's cool. Thank you, Terry. I'm really happy you're here, and all of you are here enjoying this great interview with iDigStuff. We have.
It's a great point because it is like a lot of times I try to pull clips from a film or a TV show, and you have to, if it's a specific clip, you have to pull it when it happens. There's no choice.
Yeah.
But if it's not, you definitely do try to find it isolated as much as possible. But you don't want the background music, and most scores, are playing throughout most of the action. So that's a great idea to be able to pull dialogue like that. Or other times, there's other ways to minimize the background noise through audio plugins and stuff. But that's a good resource. I appreciate that.
I completely agree. Does anybody have any questions for our guests? Before I talk a little more, I'm going to link his stuff, ! iDigStuff right there. Please go take a look at his page. The files page is linked there for you right there. You can go ahead, give him a thumbs up, give him some feedback. I'm sure he would appreciate a review or two. Just any comments on saying what you like. Maybe constructive feedback. Don't be a jerk. Give something that will actually help him, saying, "Hey,
you all sound suck, bro."
Yeah, stop ruining my tables.
All right, can I quickly go down this list?
Oh, the floor is yours, my friend.
These are I want to give away these are my themes that I have. I'm toying with, and maybe if anybody is listening or watching, anything that stands out or anything that's like, absolutely do not do that.
I will definitely tell you.
Or maybe they already exist and I just don't know. It's a short list, but these are some ideas.
I want to hear.
We're having some fun now. It's the end of the thing. Labyrinth.
Beautiful.
Three Amigos.
That could be a cool EM remake.
I started it. Surprisingly few assets available.
Really?
For art. Because I don't draw. So
Yeah.
I have to kind of look, and there's like a couple of movie posters, and that's about it as far as like.
I feel like your audio is going to be easier, and it's going to be a funny
way
table.
easier, which is what drew me to it in the first place.
Yeah.
Here's one I think absolutely has to be done at some point. Again, I haven't checked the assets for this. Spinal Tap.
Yes. There's a homebrew pin I played at Texas Pinball Festival, and it's the perfect candidate for a machine, virtual or physical.
There's so many call outs.
Yeah.
It writes itself.
Yeah.
It writes itself.
Even the go ahead.
You got to always understand, I'm always coming at it from a sound first perspective.
Yes.
So, but for that, I mean, you could have the amps in there, like 3D versions. You can have knobs that go into 11, all kinds of fun stuff.
It's a good candidate for sure.
I'm thinking, I put Update Tiki. Obviously, we talked about that.
Please.
I mean, here's something that's timely because of the recent passing of some of the greatest gangsters, Goodfellas.
Oh, so just so you know, well, no, Goodfellas, different IP. Sorry, Jersey Jack is rumored to be working on a Godfather pin. So
really,
yes, and they just came out with Toy Story 4.
That was next on the list. But
yeah,
yes.
Toy Story 4 was not the pin everybody was looking for. They were looking for Toy Story 1 through 3. Makes sense.
Right.
It's part of the
That
original
had to be a
trilogy.
licensing thing, I would imagine.
Yeah, exactly. And so their rumored, I think, next announcement is winter, and it'll probably be The Godfather. Now, the joke is it's going to be Godfather 3 because they picked Toy Story 4. It's like picking Matrix 5 or Matrix 4 or 5.
I thought you were going to say the joke is it's going to be Godfather 4.
Yeah, exactly. So, but Goodfellas is a great
video. The straight-to-video Godfather 4. I think we've all seen it.
But you're right, with the passing of Ray Liotta, it's timely to do a Goodfellas. If you were to ask me which one of those, minus the updated Tiki Bob, because I fucking love that table.
Well, I wasn't done, but
yeah,
okay.
I would say, man, I'm such a Bowie fan.
That's a good one.
I would probably say.
Hold on, I have 3 more.
Oh, please, sorry, I didn't.
Get it out? I'm sorry.
No.
I say a rockabilly themed table, but I think one just came out. But I don't know. It wasn't. Needs some work.
There's a
Running Man.
So just to go back, the rockabilly one. There's a solid state by Gottlieb called Car Hop that would be a good candidate because it has a lot of the theme already in it.
Love it.
Just a thought.
That's perfect. And then a couple of, this is the end. Some Schwarzenegger. Running Man.
No, any Schwarzenegger I'm gonna be. That's my choice. Like,
Total Recall. There's not a Total Recall table.
can we please get 3 boob multi-ball?
Yeah. Trip Nip Multi-Ball.
Yeah, something.
And lastly, for my wife, she would kill for a Mary Poppins table.
Yeah, I mean,
That's it.
your wife and my wife could probably play that together and just talk and laugh and love it. I think that would be. You know what's funny is there was a creator. He's not in the community anymore, but he was doing a lot of kids tables, and those were so well received by my kids.
Oh, I worked with him. I did like a Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, and then a couple other ones. He needed some music coding. I helped him out with those. And then some people said some stuff, and he left, and it's a real bummer.
Yeah, he was making some really cool stuff, and
I mean, it wasn't for everybody. It wasn't supposed to be for the people who complained about it. Honestly, it's supposed to be for the people with kids.
Yeah, and it worked, and my kids loved it. The Peppa Pig, the Moana, all that stuff. But yeah, I would probably say. I mean, for me, I'm a big Schwarzenegger fan, so Total Recall is my choice. But I think you've got some great themes in there, especially if you're passionate about them. I don't think you can go wrong with any of those. To be honest, I haven't heard one where you're
problem. There's too many good things to try and do.
Yeah, there's not like. I mean, if you were to say, yeah, I'd love a table about when encyclopedias were a big thing. Like, yeah, then I'd be like, all right, man, maybe cool it on that one. But
it's called Encyclopedia the Table.
Yeah, exactly.
Hear me out.
You're the wizard mode is you sold the set to a unknowing housewife in the Midwest. But yeah, does anybody
now
have
I'm starting to like this?
Exactly. Does anybody have any questions for our awesome guest? I want to make sure that you get your questions answered. I say Tiki, but I know a new one would probably be preferred. So yeah, Total Recall, man. I think Total Recall is like the perfect theme, but that's because I always feel like sci-fi always has a place with just the general like mechanics of pinball. You've got sort of this sci-fi technology of slings and bumpers and pops and the noises, and that's why you have things
makes
like
perfect sense.
Yeah, Meteor, Stern's Meteor, Stars.
The sci-fi stuff usually has a lot of like fan art and stuff like that. It can be draw from too. Like, if you're not an artist like myself and you're looking for assets, you're looking for materials to draw from.
Oh yeah, you go straight to I don't know if it's Tumblr or whatever the sites are, but so much fan art, fan fiction. You could even take the ideas for story modes there, but I think it's great. Encyclopedia Frisco Ace Attorney Battle World. That's funny.
I love
it. Yeah, but I have to tell you, man, this was a freaking breeze because you are such a good guest, and I'm so glad more people will get to see this. I can't even believe it's been 3 hours. I feel like I've been talking to you just at a bar or a public place.
Oh, damn, dude, we just rattled.
Yeah, we really did, and I think it's because I think you get it. I think we both get it that this is supposed to be a fun hobby. We have sort of this kindred spirit of music and all that stuff. And you're a great dude, and I really hope people see your stuff. Again, ! iDigStuff is a really great creator. I know when I reached out to you, you're like, me? I was like, man, you don't understand. I have an affinity for when people create these super, not complex, but super like passionate projects like with Tiki Bob and your alt sound packages and Simpsons. I know you had a lot of help on, but you should please take credit for your work on it. It just comes together and it makes me happy. And I'm hopefully the only thing I can do right now to give back to this hobby that I love is hopefully showcase more of you guys and stream and just show your stuff and get people to learn about it. So thank you, man. It's been a pleasure. The floor is yours. I'm gonna give you.
I do appreciate it, and it's great what you're doing. I mean, you put a lot of work into this, man. Honestly, like producing, hosting, technical directing, all yourself. So, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I was surprised a little bit. It's like you got far down the list, but I hope that I mean, I had a great time with you, and that's really what it comes down to. So.
Yeah, you're always welcome. You don't have to come here and show me new stuff. If you have something you want to talk about, you ever want to chat, I'm always on late at night. You can always hop on and say, "Hey man, let's talk about this table," or "Hey man, let's just shoot the shit on something." "Hey man, let me rant for a bit." You're always welcome. I still one day I want to be able to see a cool jukebox like that, just as modded out as yours in person. Thank you all.
One time we'll come on really late, and I'll tell you the Courtney Love story.
Yes, please. I want to hear that. We talked about that before. I'm like, hell yeah, I need to hear more of that.
Not for public ears.
Exactly. Thank you, everybody, for hanging in, for watching. If you came, thank you, Manu, for the raid, Rain Sydney Pinball for the raid, all the
Thanks
follows.
to anybody who watched, and I appreciate you guys.
Yes, definitely. Shout out iDigStuff. You'll see him on the VPC Discord. You'll see him on Facebook. Go to his VPU page, download his stuff, and peace, love, and pinball, my friends. I'll see you later. Bye.
Thank you.
All right, we are muted. Nope.
Chocolate and some lobster and some eggs and some pie, and then you mix it in your body, shit it all out. You take some chocolate and some lobster and some eggs and some pie, and then you mix it in your body, shit it all out. You take some chocolate and some lobster and some eggs and some pie, and then you mix it in your body, shit it all out. You take some